Chapter 1692. When Xiao Chen sensed that startling fiendish qi, he stopped practicing the mundane heart and followed the fiendish qi over. Unexpectedly, the moment he landed, he saw such a startling scene. Xiao Chen was not shocked at Zhen Xian's death. After all, he did not have a good impression of this bald monk. He would not feel any pity for Zhen Xian's death. However, he found it somewhat strange. When he saw that young cat-eared girl earlier, she had not been this strong. Now, she was a little too strong, instantly killing Zhen Xian in one move. No matter how careless Zhen Xian was, he should not have been able to instantly kill her in one move. Clearly, that young cat-eared girl's current state was not quite right. It was like a genius with a great desolate Ian bloodline activating his bloodline. However, the situation of the young cat-eared girl was even worse. That aura was too sinister and uncontrollable. It did not follow any rules. After all, even after activating his great desolate Ian bloodline, Xiao Chen would not be able to hold on for long. He had to quickly withdraw it. If the young cat-eared girl could not withdraw her bloodline, she might self-destruct and die soon. As Xiao Chen watched the young cat-eared girl leave, he entered deep thought. She still had some rationality left. Earlier, she had suppressed her murderous intent toward him. She left in a hurry. Is she trying to save herself, or is she trying to do something else? After thinking for a while, Xiao Chen followed. This young cat-eared girl had many secrets. It was hard not to be curious. Soon, Xiao Chen saw the young cat-eared girl in the distance. He did not dare to get too close, carefully following her. The young cat-eared girl used her hands and feet to move quickly. She was already losing control of her fiendish qi. Where are we going? Xiao Chen wondered, feeling suspicious. The young cat-eared girl did not enter the hall. Instead, she moved quickly, venturing deeper. After a while, Xiao Chen's doubts were resolved. The young cat-eared girl left this ancient temple through the back door. With a thought, Xiao Chen's figure flickered a few times, and he also left through the back door. Behind the temple was a vast, empty space. At the edge of the empty space was a deep abyss. In the deep abyss stood the female Buddha statue that Xiao Chen had seen before. It was very tall and looked stifling. Yang Qing! Xiao Chen exclaimed softly. He saw Yang Qing standing at the edge of the cliff. She was looking at the Buddha statue, speechless for a long time. The cat-eared girl's target was Yang Qing, and she quickly ran toward her. Hearing Xiao Chen's call, Yang Qing turned her head. When she saw the cat-eared girl covered in scarlet light and completely transformed, her expression changed drastically. "Stop!" Xiao Chen bellowed and quickly chased after her. Having witnessed the cat-eared girl's strength before, he knew just how terrifying she was right now. He could instantly kill Zhen Xian in a single exchange. Against Yang Qing, there was even less to say. Damn it, it was too late. Xiao Chen stopped halfway. He discovered that he no longer dared to rush over to the cat-eared girl and stop her. Without much thought, Xiao Chen executed the divine lightning eye in an instant. 10 violet petals appeared in his right eye and spun rapidly. Thunder rumbled and dark clouds roiled as 10 terrifying bolts of tribulation lightning appeared. The wrath of the heavens was bound to strike with lightning. As a fiendish demon, the cat-eared girl was extremely sensitive to lightning tribulations. The moment the thunderclouds appeared, she sensed the subtle changes in the world. When the cat-eared girl looked up, she saw 10 thunderclouds gathering from all directions, gathering above her head. With a thought, the 10 petals in Xiao Chen's right eye merged into a complete purple flower of lightning. The 10,000 tribulation divine lightning in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness flared up. At this moment, the tribulation lightning in the sky also gathered together, sending down a terrifying bolt of lightning, illuminating the surroundings. While all this took a long time to describe, it actually happened in the blink of an eye, with a thought from Xiao Chen. The cat-eared girl's survival instincts made her stop moving. Then, she raised her hands to the sky and formed a clump of dense scarlet light, encasing herself within. Boom! The moment the cat-eared girl did all this, the purple lightning formed by the 10 bolts of tribulation lightning descended at this moment. Bang! The tribulation lightning pierced through the scarlet shield of light and blasted the cat-eared girl into the air. Then she lay on the ground, screaming in pain. Seeing that the cat-eared girl was severely injured and weak, Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He felt mentally fatigued, and his footsteps became somewhat unsteady. Yang Qing's figure flashed and landed beside Xiao Chen. Then, she supported him and asked worriedly, "Are you all right?" Xiao Chen shook his head. He only felt somewhat fatigued. The might of the divine lightning eye's fourth layer had shocked him. The drain on him had also surpassed his expectations. Xiao Chen's mental energy was completely drained. He could not use it again, nor could he drive Dermic World. Speaking of which, why did you come to this place? Xiao Chen asked, feeling confused. This deep abyss, this female Buddha, everything was strange. Yang Qing remained silent for a long time before pointing at the female Buddha. I came for her. Yes. This is the Kasyapa Buddha. Of the 3,000 Nirmanakya bodies, only one is female. She is known as the Miaoying Buddha Mother. This Buddha statue is one of the 8 remaining Miaoying Buddha Mother statues in the Great Thousand Realms. Xiao Chen did not understand. What does this have to do with you? Yang Qing looked at the Miaoying Buddha Mother statue and smiled bitterly. Because I am just someone's Nirmanakya body. I need to absorb the remnant faith energy of this Buddha statue and then sacrifice myself to complete my true body. Actually, it is not really a sacrifice. The true body is me, and the Nirmanakya body is me. There is no difference. On the topic of sacrifice, Yang Qing was very open-minded. She did not feel any nostalgia or anything else. Xiao Chen understood. Now, he finally understood the many mysteries surrounding Yang Qing. It was somewhat unfortunate. However, it was as Yang Qing said. The Nirmanakya was the true body, formed randomly based on the emotions of the world. Although the Nirmanakya body's character and temper were different from the true bodies, they were still one body in the end. There was no difference. As the two spoke, they did not notice that the severely injured young cat-eared girl was recovering at an incredible speed. Whoosh! The young cat-eared girl recovered most of her strength. Suddenly, she leaped up, moving as nimbly as a cat. Like a flash of lightning, she flew towards Yang Qing. Be careful! Xiao Chen reacted slightly faster. He instinctively stood in front of Yang Qing and grasped the 7 deadly sins in his hand. Damn it! Why are you always ruining my plans? I'll choose you, all right? The young cat-eared girl's remaining rationality raged and dissatisfied. However, she did not have much time left. She could not afford to wait. The young cat-eared girl moved at a speed that Xiao Chen could not see clearly. Her long, sharp, and slender finger tapped Xiao Chen's forehead. The cat immediately controlled all of Xiao Chen's life force. As long as she willed it, she could thrust her finger in, and Xiao Chen would become like a deflated balloon, his life force quickly vanishing. Immediately, Xiao Chen, who held the 7 deadly sins, did not dare to move at all. If you want to live, don't move. The young cat-eared girl snorted coldly. Then, she gently moved her finger and cut open Xiao Chen's forehead. Blood seeped out. The young cat-eared girl moved her finger, using the blood as ink to carve a mysterious mark. Put, put, put. The holy Sun Ming Xian gently crushed the rock demon's head with his feet, producing crunching sounds as black blood seeped out. Many fiendish demons died miserably around the holy Sun Ming Xian. The other stone shards on the ground were still moving, wanting to gather together, showing their strong life force. Tribulation lightning? The holy Sun Ming Xian, who saw all this, ignored it. The sudden appearance of the tribulation lightning attracted his attention. Who is undergoing tribulation? It does not seem like it. It feels like someone summoned the tribulation lightning. The holy Sun Ming Xian thought back to the information he obtained. Xiao Chen controlled the tribulation lightning on Thunder Controlling Peak to face Shangguan Lei. A brilliant light flashed in the holy Sun Ming Xian's eyes. Then, he revealed an expression of joy. Instead of hiding properly, you dare to search for fortuitous encounters everywhere. You are seeking death. Boom. The holy Sun Ming Xian stomped on the ground with his right foot, and a Buddhist might spread out. The many stones still moving stubbornly shattered into powder. The stone monster, which had an exceptionally tenacious life force, was completely annihilated. After doing all this, the holy Sun Ming-Xian did not rush to leave. He felt a gaze on him from start to end. The holy Sun Ming-Xian understood. It was that star venerate level tree spirit. If it was truly capable, it would have come out and destroyed me long ago. Clearly, it feared something, or perhaps it did not have long to live. However, the holy Sun Ming-Xian could not be careless. He had to guard against the other party risking his life. After thinking about what backup plans to prepare, the holy Sun Ming-Xian gently leaped up and chased after the tribulation lightning's aura. The holy Sun Ming-Xian moved strangely fast. His feet did not move at all. Only a black lotus imprinted on the ground seemed to carry him, leaving behind many afterimages. After leaving the temple, the holy Sun Ming-Xian looked up and happened to see the transformed cat-eared young woman withdrawing her finger. The young woman withdrew her fiendish qi and continuously condensed it in her body. Finally, she turned into a white cat and slept at the side. Before Xiaochen could catch his breath, he revealed a fatigued expression. Then, he turned to look at the holy Sun Ming-Xian with shock in his eyes. It's him! Chapter 1693. Before Xiaochen could figure out what the mark on his forehead was, he held up the 7 deadly sins and stood in front of Yang Qing. When Xiaochen saw this white-clad monk arrive, 4 words automatically appeared in his mind. This person is hostile. I finally meet you. I'm the Black Lotus Church's Ming-Xian, a profound Light Temple Yen generation disciple. When Ming-Xian saw Xiaochen, he did not panic. He smiled faintly and introduced himself. Xiaochen revealed an expression of surprise. To think that a Black Lotus Church disciple could join an Orthodox Buddhist sect and even enter the fiendish demon battlefield. Xiaochen's mind was in a mess. He really could not figure it out. The Orthodox Buddhist sects and the Black Lotus Church, which believed in the evil Buddha, were mortal enemies. To think that this white-clad monk openly joined the profound Light Temple. Young Master Xiao, what's going on? Xiaochen did not have time to explain his grudge with the Black Lotus Church. He whispered, go and absorb the Miao-Yin Buddhist mother's incense first. I'll block him. If necessary, I'll lure him away. Xiaochen did not dare to underestimate this holy Sun Ming-Xian. Not only was the other party's cultivation much higher than Xiaochen's, but the other party's cultivation was also much higher. Not only was the other party's cultivation much higher than his, but more importantly, the other party felt unfathomable and unfathomable. If Xiaochen did not break through in his cultivation, he did not have much chance of defeating the other party. If only he had more time. Take care. Yang Qing did not delay. After saying, take care, she leaped into the air and jumped off the cliff, heading for the base of the Buddha statue. The holy Sun Ming-Xian smiled softly and said, not bad. Finally, there are only the 2 of us left. Come back with me. Right after the holy Sun Ming-Xian spoke, he leaped into the air and flew over, not wanting to drag things out lest something unexpected happen. Right after the holy Sun Ming-Xian spoke, he left behind many afterimages in the air. Each afterimage looked dignified, like an ancient Buddha forming all sorts of hand seals. A vast and boundless Buddhist might immediately spread out in the surroundings. The holy Sun Ming-Xian's palm pressed down, both real and fake. Immediately, the boundless Buddhist might condensed into a solid golden light and burst out from his palm. Then, it pressed down on Xiaochen with overwhelming force. In the face of this enormous pressure, Xiaochen's face was expressionless, as if he was stiff. His entire body was motionless, like a solidified statue. Imperceptibly, the space around him was affected, as if it had turned into a taut giant ice cube. Suddenly, Xiaochen moved and shouted. As Xiaochen held the 7 deadly sins, he gave off great Tao energy and executed the army breaking saber technique. The army breaking saber technique was most suitable to execute under such immense pressure. The greater the pressure, the more ferocious it would be. Xiaochen raised the saber from the bottom to the top. He was like a lone warrior holding a spear, facing an army of thousands, piercing through the sky. Kasi. The surrounding frozen space immediately shattered. The saber released a resplendent light as it clashed with the holy Sun Ming-Xian's palm strike. The saber strike that Xiao Chen nurtured with his heart burst forth with absolute lethality in the face of adversity. The moment the saber light appeared, the incredibly sharp saber light pierced through the various Buddhist lights and Buddhist might, leaving thousands of holes in them. When the saber light clashed with the palm wind, Xiao Chen held the upper hand, knocking the Holy Sun Ming Xian back in the air. The Holy Sun Ming Xian frowned slightly in surprise. Unexpectedly, the half-step primal core Xiao Chen could erupt with such a strong saber strike. Then Xiao Chen soared into the air. Now that he held the upper hand in his aura, he grasped the opportunity and smoothly followed up with army-breaking saber technique. The dark clouds in the sky cleared, and starlight fell. As the saber light swept out, it seemed like it would destroy the stars. When the Holy Sun Ming Xian landed, he did not fluster in the face of danger. As he held the Buddhist prayer beads in his hand, he quickly formed hand seals. A black lotus bloomed under his feet. When the star-breaking saber technique landed, the Holy Sun Ming Xian's body suddenly gave off a bright black Buddhist light. Then, he formed hand seals with his right hand and blocked that unparalleled saber light. Scriptures echoed in the surroundings. The Holy Sun Ming Xian gently raised his right hand, and scriptures gathered. The space around him continuously rose in level, looking like it was turning into the legendary Buddhist spiritual mountain. Change. Xiao Chen felt heavy resistance as he descended. He raised his saber and changed his move in one breath, executing the flawless saber technique's heartbreaking stance. Xiao Chen's heart shattered, and he felt intense pain. All the potential in his body was forcefully squeezed out amid the intense pain, turning into an unparalleled bright saber light that charged forward. The Holy Sun Ming Xian's heart ached, and he revealed a pained expression. The dermic seal immediately broke. Xiao Chen did not pause at all. The saber light circled around, and the star-breaking saber technique, which he had just collected, was executed berserkly at lightning speed. Oh no! The Holy Sun Ming Xian thought to himself as he pressed his palms together and retreated. Boom! The instant the Holy Sun Ming Xian pressed his palms together, a similarly ferocious Buddhist might burst out of his body and clashed with the star-breaking saber technique. In the clash, loud sounds rang out in the surroundings. Xiao Chen's aura held the upper hand. The Holy Sun Ming Xian's Buddhist might that he hastily unleashed could not neutralize the star-breaking saber technique. After being knocked back, Xiao Chen broke through the layers of Buddhist might and roared ferociously as he executed breaking the world. The berserk saber light immediately went out of control. The boundless saber might was like tens of thousands of wild horses breaking free from their reins, roaring ferociously and wanting to destroy the world. In this short exchange, Xiao Chen perfectly brought out his exquisite saber techniques and cultivation, catching his opponent off guard. The Holy Sun Ming Xian finally found this excellent opportunity. The moment he executed breaking the world, Xiao Chen knew that the Holy Sun Ming Xian could not escape. The Holy Sun Ming Xian had nowhere to retreat to. Breaking the world swept away all of the Holy Sun Ming Xian's Buddhist might and defensive martial techniques formed by various hand seals. Then he chopped down on the Holy Sun Ming Xian's shoulder. Dang! A loud sound rang out, and Xiao Chen revealed an expression of shock in his eyes. After the saber cut in by 1 centimeter, it could not go any deeper. Instead, it got stuck in the other party's shoulder bone. What kind of physical body is this? You've played enough, right? The Holy Sun Ming Xian did not care about the wound on his shoulder. He just smiled casually at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen thought to himself, oh no. Then, he let go of the saber with his right hand and tried to retreat. The Holy Sun Ming Xian smiled faintly and did not panic. He held the index and middle fingers of his right hand together, and a string of Buddhist prayer beads dangled from them. After brewing for a while, he ferociously pushed forward. Bang! After retreating several meters, a shockingly strong force knocked Xiao Chen into the air. His internal organs ruptured, and when he landed, he vomited a mouthful of blood. Xiao Chen's entire body hurt. Aside from his damaged internal organs, cracks of various sizes appeared all over his body. Some of his outer bones even shattered completely. What hand seal is that? When Xiao Chen saw the Holy Sun Ming Xian's hand seal, he revealed a horrified expression. In that earlier moment, the force that the other party sent out was already infinitely close to the casual strike of an ordinary star venerate, feigning weakness before severely injuring the other party with a lightning-fast strike. When Xiaochen thought about his earlier exchange with the Holy Sun Mingxian, he could not help smiling bitterly. Originally, this was the method he used to defeat the Little Thunder Saber. However, someone used it on him. This was karma. This was truly retribution. To think that you still have the strength to fight. Your physical body is extraordinary. The Holy Sun Mingxian casually tossed aside the 7 deadly sins on his shoulder and revealed a shocked expression. He discovered that Xiaochen had actually fainted from his injuries, yet he still had a strong life force. The Holy Sun Mingxian could not help feeling surprised. This physique was startlingly strong. While the Holy Sun Mingxian was shocked, Xiaochen was even more shocked. The Holy Sun Mingxian's full power attack, breaking the world, only left an unremarkable wound on the other party's shoulder. Compared to your fleshly body, my fleshly body is nothing. Xiaochen did not care. He stood up with much difficulty, not choosing to give up. The Holy Sun Mingxian said indifferently, "You are not qualified to compete with my physical body. If not for you comprehended great Tao energy, it would be impossible for you to injure me." What bold words! However, Xiaochen did not say much. He had not been able to improve his Blue Dragon war body further. He had only forcefully relied on the life juice source to improve his physique. In terms of physical body, he really could not compare to the other party. Do you still want to continue fighting? Just obediently give up, and I can let you suffer less pain. The sect venerate never said that he wanted your life, so you can rest assured, the Holy Sun Mingxian said softly, sensing that Xiaochen still had some trump cards and did not want to push him too hard. When Xiaochen heard this, he could not help raging in his heart. He laughed maniacally and said, "Don't worry. Even if he does not kill me, I will definitely kill him. Sooner or later, I will personally charge into the Black Lotus Church and take the head of that sect venerate." The Kunlun realm's demonic calamity and the deaths of countless brothers could not be in vain. He would charge into the Black Lotus Church not for himself but for the fellow Taoists of the Kunlun realm who sacrificed themselves in the demonic calamity. Chu Yang, Yan Shirsen, Fu Hongyao, too many. Ignorant. The Holy Sun Mingxian snorted coldly, revealing some disdain. He stopped speaking nonsense and prepared to end the battle quickly. Breaking the mundane. The moment the Holy Sun Mingxian moved, Xiaochen immediately seized the opportunity to suck the 7 deadly sins into his hand. Xiaochen executed the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique, breaking the mundane smoothly. The surging mundane world and all sorts of scenes unfolded together with Xiaochen's saber light. The Holy Sun Mingxian's footsteps slowed as a warm scene appeared before his eyes. That was the scene of him living with his parents and brothers before he became a monk. These were the most beautiful memories in his heart. No matter what he became under the Black Lotus Church's sect venerates instructions, he would never be able to forget these mundane events, a worry that he could never sever. Break! Xiaochen shouted coldly, and a golden swastika shot out from his forehead. A golden Buddhist swastika appeared behind him. A 3-kilometer-long saber light shot out from the Holy Sun Mingxian's hand and merged with the weapon in Xiaochen's hand. Then, the saber light pierced towards the Holy Sun Mingxian. Whoosh! The Holy Sun Mingxian suddenly opened his eyes and woke up. However, it was already too late. The 3-kilometer-long saber light in the Buddha's hand bore the brunt of the attack and pierced through his chest. Xiaochen bathed in a Buddhist light. The Buddhist monk's saber followed closely behind, piercing through the Holy Sun Mingxian's chest. Pu Si. The Holy Sun Mingxian roared in pain. In the time it took for a spark to fly, he threw a palm strike at Xiaochen's shoulder. Bang! The two got knocked back at the same time. Xiaochen's injuries worsened. After he fell to the ground, he found it hard to stand up. The Holy Sun Mingxian wobbled but did not fall over in the end. However, the might of breaking the mundane also entered the Holy Sun Mingxian's body, causing his complexion to pale and black light to appear. On the ground, Xiaochen sighed helplessly. He had already done his best. If the other party insisted on fighting, then he could only take the risk of activating his great desolate Ian bloodline in his current state. However, it was hard to guarantee that the other party might not have a great desolate Ian bloodline. Whoosh! Just at this moment, something strange happened. The 30-kilometer-long Buddha image in the deep chasm suddenly shattered into countless specks of dust, scattering in all directions. Chapter 1694. In the boundless deep abyss, the towering Buddha image turned to dust, and a beam of light soared up from below. This was Yang Qing, who had absorbed the Buddha Mother's incense. Before she landed, she threw a palm strike at the holy sun Mingxian. The palm wind contained a cold intent. Everywhere it passed, it arrived before the holy sun Mingxian in the blink of an eye. The holy sun Mingxian did not have time to think. He simply threw a palm strike. Boom! The two palms clashed. Yang Qing knocked back the holy sun Mingxian with one palm strike, not moving at all. After absorbing the Buddha Mother's incense, her strength soared rapidly. What a strong palm strike! The holy sun Mingxian took a few steps back before he barely stabilized himself. Shock appeared on his face. After being struck by Xiao Chen's breaking the mundane, Mingxian was clearly injured. He could not circulate much veritable essence energy to clash with Yang Qing. Instead of retreating, Yang Qing advanced. She burst forth with a terrifying Buddhist might. The Buddha Mother's 30-kilometer-tall figure appeared behind her, exuding might without anger. A terrifying might spread out, making the injured Mingxian feel unbearable. It had been many years since Mingxian had such a feeling when facing someone of the same generation. This was truly surprising. What exactly happened for this girl, who was not worth mentioning earlier, to grow so much stronger? She actually vaguely showed the might of a star venerate, catching everyone off guard. Mingxian's expression immediately turned grave. The Buddhist prayer beads in his hand released a resplendent black light. A black lotus bloomed under his feet, and a gigantic black Buddha image appeared behind him. Bang! Another palm strike clashed. The two were evenly matched. The Buddha images behind them had a stern expression and a ferocious expression. They fought intensely as well. However, the holy sun Mingxian was injured. This intense clash instantly deepened the injury on his chest. The saber intent contained in the 7 deadly sins still stabbed into his chest lingered for a long time, continuously invading his meridians and internal organs. What was more serious was that the true meaning of breaking the mundane had severed the most beautiful memories in his heart. His heart was supreme, but it hurt his soul. A strange sense of loss and grief lingered for a long time. The mundane world was hard to break, and obsession was hard to dispel. No matter how strong one's physical body was, the human heart was made of flesh. Yang Qing drifted back with a grave expression. Unexpectedly, the holy sun Mingxian could still clash head-on with her despite his severe injuries. If Zhang Xian hadn't been injured, he would have had to put in a lot of effort to defeat him. With no time to think, Yang Qing shouted coldly and charged over once more. After forcefully clashing for another 3 moves, the holy sun Mingxian finally could no longer endure. Blood continuously oozed out of the 7 deadly sin on his chest. Drip, drip, drip. It landed on the ground. Xiao Chen, who was on the ground, stood up with much difficulty. He revealed an expression of luck. Fortunately, Yang Qing appeared at this crucial moment. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although he still had some trump cards up his sleeve, his injuries were too severe and he couldn't use them at all. If he forcefully used it, the consequences would be extremely severe. Even without the other party doing anything, he would still die. The holy sun Mingxian was unexpectedly strong. This was especially so for his strange physical body. Xiao Chen wondered how he cultivated it. Let's go. Yang Qing knew when to stop. After forcing back the holy sun Mingxian, she no longer pushed back. Then, her figure flashed back and quickly left with Xiao Chen. Damn it! Rage burned in the holy sun Mingxian's eyes. For the first time, anxiety appeared on his face. He had not expected such a result at all. Something that should have been in the bag turned out to be an accident. The holy sun Mingxian had always taken everything into account. Even when facing a star venerate, he could retreat calmly without losing his elegance. However, today, an insignificant Xiao Chen actually managed to injure him. Furthermore, he was significantly injured. That unremarkable woman had inexplicably become stronger all of a sudden. It was also inexplicable. Kasi, the holy Sun Mingxian pulled out the 7 deadly sin from his chest. Then, like he was venting his hatred, he used all his strength to break the saber in half and tossed it to the ground. However, this 7 deadly sin had been specially refined and was no ordinary weapon. After it broke, it immediately scattered. It turned into 7 beams of light of different colors and flew towards Xiao Chen, not doing much harm. Damn it! The holy Sun Mingxian roared furiously, venting all his frustration and dissatisfaction on his feet. Then he stomped on the ground. A crack appeared on the cliff, trembling endlessly. The crack extended downwards, looking like it would shatter at any moment. The holy Sun Mingxian looked around and saw the unconscious white cat. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes, and his expression instantly turned cold. Who knew? This white cat felt his gaze and quickly got up. Then, it nimbly chased after Xiao Chen and Yang Qing. It turned out that the white cat had woken up long ago and had been pretending to be asleep. Interesting. After venting the rage in his heart, the holy Sun Mingxian completely calmed down. His expression recovered its gentle expression as he closed his eyes and started treating his injuries. Clearly, the urgent matter now was not to show off his bravery but to quickly return to his peak. He had to re-evaluate Xiao Chen's strength. Then he would find the other party and take him down at lightning speed. The demonic bone Saraira, the mission that his master gave him had to be completed. This concerned the great cause of the Black Lotus Church, something that could change the entire Buddhist sect in the Great Thousand Realms. Yang Qing quickly led Xiao Chen down the mountain. After walking for another 2 hours, she did not see the holy Sun Mingxian chasing after her. Only then did she relax. There was no need to be polite between the two. Xiao Chen did not thank her. He asked, "You did not finish absorbing the power of the Joss flames, right?" It felt too fast. It would be very difficult to absorb all the power of the Joss flames in such a short time. Yang Qing nodded and smiled softly. "I can't do anything about it. That holy Sun Mingxian is too strong. If I had continued to absorb it unhurriedly, young Master Xiao, you would have died." Xiao Chen felt ashamed in his heart. In his life, he had rarely been saved by a woman. He asked, "Where are you going next?" Reluctance flashed in Yang Qing's eyes. Her expression turned somewhat complicated. "I forcefully absorbed the power of the Joss flames into my body. After a while, my body will explode and I will die." Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly as he looked at the other party incredulously. He could not accept this. Yang Qing smiled and said, "Don't be shocked. Even if I did not forcefully absorb it into my body, I would have chosen to sacrifice myself after absorbing the power of the Joss flames. It is just a matter of time. Unfortunately, I originally wanted to stay a little longer. Now I have no choice." Bang! As soon as she finished speaking, Yang Qing's entire body exploded. However, there was no blood or bones. Instead, it turned into a 9-colored spiritual aura that contained a dense Buddhist light. It flew into the sky and disappeared into the horizon. This caught Xiao Chen off guard. He was stunned for a long time before recovering his wits. As they chatted, Yang Qing's body exploded. It was really hard to accept. Xiao Chen looked up at the sky and entered deep thought. He did not know if he would get a chance to see Yang Qing's true body again. However, there was a great difference between an emanation body and a true body. Their personalities were very different. Xiao Chen thought for a while and concluded that it was best not to interact with a woman who dared to cultivate an emanation body. She would definitely be someone who was both righteous and evil. Or perhaps she was an evil cultivator. At the back of the temple on the Buddha-seeking platform, the holy Sun Mingxian opened his eyes and saw the 9-colored spiritual energy flying into the sky. After his shock, he revealed an expression of understanding. It turned out to be the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter's emanation body. No wonder. that is already a famous expert of the Great Thousand Realms. Exceptionally difficult to deal with, however, since you spoiled my plans, I will repay this debt sooner or later, even if you are the Azure Lotus Holy Daughter. On the other side, Xiao Chen still did not feel very safe. He traveled alone and found a quiet place. After leaving behind a simple formation, he calmed down slightly. Right now, there was only one thing to do: break through quietly. In the earlier battle, Xiao Chen had already broken through his bottleneck. If he were too severely injured, he could break through the limits of the veritable personage realm on the spot. Closing his eyes, Xiao Chen swallowed a medicinal pill for treating injuries that Yi Zifeng had given him. The medicinal pill melted the moment it entered his mouth, and a cooling sensation spread throughout his body. The pain in his body immediately eased significantly. Naturally, the medicinal pill that Yi Zifeng had given him was not inferior. Soon, Xiao Chen's strong physical body allowed him to recover from most of his injuries. It is time to break through. Xiao Chen opened his eyes. He had been waiting for this day for a long time already. However, when it truly arrived, his heart was calm. Chapter 1695. Advancing from the veritable personage realm to the primal core realm was to merge the three essence energies into one and form a core. Xiao Chen's Yin essence energy came from the 10,000-year-old baleful Yin energy he absorbed and refined. Xiao Chen's Yang essence energy came from the heavenly Yang pill, which was comparable to the 10,000-year-old baleful Yang energy. As for veritable essence energy, it was like a mediator between the two. However, it was different. Be it Yin essence energy or Yang essence energy, their ultimate goal was to temper veritable essence energy, to continuously perfect it. In the end, a cultivator's cultivation was based on veritable essence energy. When merging the three essence energies into one, the most important thing was balance, the conservation of Yin and Yang. Only then could one form a primal core. Xiao Chen had reached this point long ago. The Taiji diagram in his Dantian slowly formed its second cycle, allowed him to not have to spend any effort on balancing it. This was already the most perfect Tao of balance in the current world. It originated from the immortal epics Taoist sections. Now, it belonged to Xiao Chen alone, something he could use. In the Great Thousand Realms, there was a saying, "First become human, then become a deity." After transcending mortality and becoming a veritable personage, one would take a brand new step on the long martial Tao. The veritable personage realm was the foundation. It determined how far one could go in the future and how much potential one could bring out. Many people understood this point. However, not many people could do it. Not everyone's physical body could endure the 10,000-year-old baleful Yin energy and 10,000-year-old baleful Yang energy. Those who could endure the 10,000-year-old baleful Yin energy and 10,000-year-old baleful Yang energy might not have the opportunity to subdue them. Furthermore, not everyone could be like Xiao Chen, enduring silently and maintaining a calm and peaceful state of mind. Even when facing many dangers, the pursuit of the Black Lotus Church, the provocation of the Divine Firmament sect, and the encirclement of the Divine Shield Army, he did not force a breakthrough. Furthermore, he did not rush to make a breakthrough because he wanted to make a name for himself. Xiao Chen let nature take its course, succeeding when the conditions were right. After continuous tempering and adjustment, he finally reached where he was today, step by step. This was because from the start to the end, Xiao Chen had not forgotten his original intention: to search for the moon, to find Lu Ryue, to find the person he loved the most, to obtain the Dragon Emperor position, and to complete the revival of the Blue Dragon bloodline. Everything that Xiao Chen experienced in the Great Thousand Realms was just fleeting. His final battlefield would definitely be the Central Great Realm, where geniuses gathered and the outstanding talents of the Great Desolate Hundred Races. The heavens would not disappoint those who set their minds to it. Xiao Chen took a deep breath. With a thought, the black and white Taiji diagram formed by Yang essence energy and Yin essence energy in his Dantian slowly merged and shrank. After being cleansed by hundreds of jasmine flowers, his Yin and Yang essence had become extremely pure, sparkling and translucent, emitting a silk-like luster. This was especially true for the Yang essence refined from the Sky Yang pill. It was originally contaminated with the residue of the pill, so the problem could be big or small. After this round of cleansing, the dregs of the pill were completely expelled from the body. There was no longer any hidden danger. Since the Yang Yuan and Yin Yuan energies were too vast and pure, the process of merging Xiao Chen's 3 Yuan energies into one was rather slow. Around him, an even vaster black and white Tai Chi diagram appeared, dancing light and shadow, flickering and disappearing. Amidst the light and shadow, the entire world alternated between black and white, and a unique Tao rhythm circulated. A Taoist rhyme that was different from the Buddhist might was exceptionally mysterious, causing one's imagination to run wild. Time passed by the minute and second. Although Xiao Chen's progress was slow, it went smoothly, without any obstructions at all. This was how a breakthrough came naturally. When the bottleneck was no longer there, one just had to let nature take its course. 4 hours later, the Yin essence energy, Yang essence energy, and veritable essence energy in Xiao Chen's dantian had already shrunk to the size of a palm. The light they gave off was boundlessly resplendent. The light shone through Xiao Chen's body. His bones, flesh, skin, and even his soul all received great benefits in the process of merging the 3 Yuan energies into one. The flickering light on the surface of Xiao Chen's body intertwined with the surrounding Taiji diagram, vaguely connecting with the entire world. This was the fiendish demon battlefield. Not only was the space here of a higher level, but the spiritual energy here was also several times that of the outside world. Breaking through here was much better than breaking through in a blessed land. This was something that Xiao Chen had not expected. After another 7 minutes, the extremely condensed Yang essence energy and Yin essence energy finally merged into his veritable essence energy. Whoosh! The Taiji diagram, which originally circulated extremely slowly, spun violently at 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times, faster than before. Thousands of beams of golden light shot out from Xiao Chen's body, illuminating the surrounding 50 kilometers like it was daytime. Xiao Chen could clearly see every blade of grass and tree in the surroundings. Fortunately, Xiao Chen had chosen a desolate place in the fiendish demon battlefield, where the situation was constantly changing. Such a large commotion did not attract the attention of others. As that light spun, Xiao Chen felt a brand new veritable essence energy flow continuously in his meridians. Strong energy filled his entire body, making Xiao Chen feel his strength erupting rapidly. This continued for an entire hour before the feeling of his strength increasing abruptly came to a stop. The boundless light in the surroundings suddenly withdrew, returning to his body as if nothing had happened. When the light vanished, Xiao Chen looked within himself and discovered a fingernail-sized crystal primal core in his dantian. The primal core had 9 golden stars carved on its surface. Each golden star flickered with light. Upon closer inspection, it was piercing and bright. One could not look directly at it. A 9-star primal core. This was the most perfect advancement. Even in the Great Thousand Realms, it would allow one to look down on the many outstanding talents. Xiao Chen could not help revealing joy in his heart. After leaving the Kunlun realm and experiencing all sorts of things, he finally managed to condense this primal core. Looking at that completely solidified crystal, Xiao Chen rejoiced. His cultivation directly soared to peak minor primal core realm. When one first entered the primal core realm was mostly soft. There would even be some viscous veritable essence energy inside. A completely solidified crystal was the mark of peak minor primal core realm. One more step and one would reach the major primal core realm. Only by successfully breaking through could one increase the capacity of the primal core realm. That required continuous tempering, merging the primal core with the power of the world. This was an extremely important step. Many people would never be able to cross this hurdle in their entire lives. However, Xiao Chen felt that his 9-star primal core could contain much more veritable essence energy than that of a regular major primal core expert. Every shining golden star was condensed with incomparably pure quintessential essence. Most regular primal core cultivators had only 2 or 3 golden stars. Even in the blessed lands, those with more than 5 golden stars were extremely rare. Rumor had it that Shangguan Lei had only condensed 6 golden stars, and he already stood at the top of his generation in the Black Cave Mountain. Xiao Chen suddenly opened his eyes, and an irrepressible tyranny burst out from them. His aura felt like he had been reborn. This was not something that Xiao Chen liked. However, he had just advanced to the primal core realm and could not control it as he pleased. The tyranny and strength of a 9-star primal core could not be easily hidden. Shangguan Lei was incredibly tyrannical, making many people not dare to meet his gaze, aside from his Thunder Dao and his irascible character. A large part of the reason was his 6-star primal core, which formlessly suppressed others. When I run into that Holy Sun Mingxian again, I can give him a huge surprise. Xiao Chen was a proud person. Although he was not willing to show it to others, he could not help but feel dissatisfied after being suppressed so miserably by someone of the same generation. Xiao Chen indeed had the capital to feel dissatisfied. A half-step primal core cultivator was already at a huge disadvantage against an early-stage major primal core cultivator like the Holy Sun Mingxian. Now that Xiao Chen had broken through, it could barely be considered a fair fight. Xiao Chen shifted his gaze and looked in the direction of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. He muttered to himself, "I have to go and find a good saber that suits me." If Xiao Chen had a Dao tool earlier, he would not have ended up in such an awkward situation where he could not injure the Holy Sun Mingxian even after he struck him. "Who is it?" Suddenly, Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. After advancing to the primal core realm, his senses were extremely sharp. Even the tiniest changes within 50 kilometers could not escape his notice. Xiao Chen gently pushed off the ground and leaped several kilometers, landing at the place where the sound came from. He saw a white cat filled with wildness stepping on the ground. It did not make any sound as it leaped around extremely quickly. Xiao Chen recognized this white cat. It was that young cat-eared girl. When her fiendish qi erupted, she had drawn a strange mark on his forehead before vanishing. Xiao Chen had nearly forgotten about this matter. She came at the right time. The young cat-eared girl's intelligent, black gem-like eyes revealed a surprised expression when she saw Xiao Chen. She was surprised that Xiao Chen had discovered her in advance. What was more, she was surprised that Xiao Chen's strength had changed so much in just half a day. Chapter 1696. As his aura locked onto the white cat, Xiao Chen showed a cautious expression. The scene of the other party killing Zhen Xian with one claw was still fresh in his mind. The feeling that the transformed white cat gave Xiao Chen was even more horrifying than that of the Holy Sun Mingxian. "Why are you so cautious? The fiend blood in my body has already entered your body." The cat-eared girl's body swayed as she turned back into a pretty young girl. Then she looked at Xiao Chen with a displeased expression. "What?" This startled Xiao Chen. These words were truly unexpected, somewhat hard to accept. When Xiao Chen thought of the other party's appearance after transforming, his heart could not help but tremble. He did not want to end up like that. The young cat-eared girl rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen and said, "You gained something, yet you still want to act innocent. You sect disciples are all like that." When Xiao Chen heard this, he felt somewhat speechless. He ignored the other party and closed his eyes, using his spiritual sense to check for the power of his bloodline. Aside from the familiar blue dragon bloodline, there was only ordinary human bloodline. There was no other strange bloodline. Is she lying? Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly, and he opened his eyes. He discovered that the other party did not show any intention of attacking him when he closed his eyes. Her expression did not change either. Xiao Chen asked indifferently, "You came to me just to talk about this? I did not sense any fiendish demon bloodline. You can go now." The young cat-eared girl was not surprised. She looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Naturally, the current you cannot sense that noble fiendish demon bloodline. It will slowly appear as you grow stronger. Fiendish demons are born in response to calamities. They are naturally impure. You are already an impure person. In the future, you have to be wary of others drawing out the fiendish demon bloodline in your body. However, you have a heart of innocence that has been tempered 1,000 times. Even if it is drawn out, you will not end up in a sorry state like I did. Seeing the other party speak so seriously, Xiao Chen's expression slowly turned grave. He checked again but still did not find anything strange. There's no need to worry too much. To you, this noble fiendish demon bloodline is definitely more beneficial than harmful. Xiao Chen slapped his forehead and said, "All right, I'll believe you for now. Can you tell me where you came from?" The cat-eared girl calmly said, "I never lie. You should have believed me. I am a stray cat that the old abbot of the ancient Cloud Temple took in. After the ancient Cloud Temple declined, the seven-aperture sovereign emperor brought me into the fiendish demon battlefield." Xiao Chen was startled. The old abbot of ancient Cloud Temple was that nameless ancient temple? As for sovereign emperors, Xiao Chen had heard of them. After entering the divine vein realm, they would be addressed as sovereign emperors. They were between sovereign personages and martial gods, so they were qualified to be addressed as sovereign emperors. I'm the only fiendish demon in the Great Thousand Worlds with the original fiendish demon blood flowing in my veins. Of course, I'm no longer one. I had no intention of transferring my bloodline to you, but you ruined my plans time and time again, so I had no choice but to forcefully transfer it to you. It's actually better to leave it for the owner of that Nirmanakia. I can feel that her real body is also full of desire for the demon blood. Xiao Chen came to a sudden realization. So, when he attacked Yang Qing back then, he wanted to transfer the demon blood to her. If he hadn't saved her, he wouldn't have gotten involved in this matter. However, the old abbot said that everything has a cause and effect. You definitely have a fate with Buddha. Back then, when he transferred this demon blood to me, he said that the next owner of the demon blood would definitely be someone with a fate with Buddha. The little cat blinked as it looked at Xiao Chen. However, it could not see how he had a fate with Buddha. I've already said what I needed to say. Goodbye. After saying what needed to be said, the young cat-eared girl turned back into a white cat and quickly left Xiao Chen's sight. The fate with Buddha. It seemed like the lingering soul of the Mahasvara Buddha that Xiao Chen met in the Sky Dome Immortal Realm had said something similar. Furthermore, Xiao Chen had coincidentally obtained the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. It seemed like he really had a fate with Buddha. It was impossible for him to have a fate with Buddha for no reason. Never mind. I'll worry about this in the future. Right now, the most important thing is to go to the 10,000 weapon pavilion. I still don't know if the demon blood is real or fake. Xiao Chen had always been decisive when doing things. He knew what was important and what was not. He would not be indecisive. After checking his bloodline again, Xiao Chen set his mind on his way to the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Now that Xiao Chen's strength had increased significantly, he discovered that he could travel very fast. He could leap high in this fiendish demon battlefield without any obstructions. Xiao Chen pushed off with his feet. Without needing to gather veritable essence energy, he easily traversed 1 kilometer. After a while, the towering 10,000 weapon pavilion appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. Thousands of strands of complete great Tao energy descended from the top of the pavilion, forming a 7-colored light that competed with each other. When Xiao Chen arrived at the entrance, he felt heavy pressure and found it difficult to move. He had to circulate his veritable essence energy before he could adapt. The vast Tao might extinguish the complacency in Xiao Chen's heart after he advanced. Before the great Tao, he was still far from it. Xiao Chen calmly entered the first floor of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Naturally, there were no good weapons on the first floor, only some superior grade profound weapons. However, those that could catch the attention of a divine vein powerhouse were naturally peak quality superior grade profound weapons. Aside from these, there were some special superior grade profound weapons that would attract the attention of the cultivators here. Those were the profound weapons that some sovereign personages or sovereign emperors once used. As far as Xiao Chen knew, there were 3 grades of weapons: profound weapons, treasure weapons, and Tao weapons. For now, Xiao Chen did not know what weapons were stronger than Tao weapons. Profound weapons were the weakest. However, they were weapons that ordinary veritable personages and primal core venerates used. Those sovereign personages and sovereign emperors must have used profound weapons when they were young. If one could obtain a profound weapon that they used, there would definitely be some Tao left behind. After comprehending it, one would gain many benefits. Hence, although the hall on the first floor was filled with profound weapons, there were many sect disciples who seriously chose and broke the restrictions. There was no competition here. If one was lucky and obtained a superior grade profound weapon that a sovereign personage used, it would be a great gain. It would not be inferior to a treasure weapon. Every weapon floating in the air looked like it was hovering. However, restrictions surrounded it. One could only draw the weapon after breaking the restrictions. However, the restrictions on the first floor were rather simple. They were not difficult for the cultivators who came here. Xiaochen raised his foot. The moment he stepped into the hall, the various sect disciples who were choosing weapons felt an instinctive threat. Their bodies instinctively felt threatened, and they either turned their heads or turned around to look at the entrance. Who is this person? He is just a minor primal core venerate. Why does he give off such great pressure? Clang. Just as many people felt confused, 10 sabers of the thousands of weapons floating in the air in the hall unsheathed themselves and stabbed into the ground around Xiaochen. The sabers trembled and buzzed endlessly. A strange saber intent spread out uncontrollably. It is the Tao left behind by a sovereign personage. These are all profound weapons that a sovereign personage once used. Damn! Where did this white-clad person come from? We worked so hard but could not find a profound weapon that a sovereign personage used. The moment he arrived, he delivered it to us. The 100-odd disciples in the hall all showed shocked expressions as they looked at Xiaochen incredulously. Some of them revealed greed in their eyes. However, when they thought of the instinctive fear they felt when Xiaochen first entered, they all dispelled this greed. Xiaochen shook his head and casually waved his hand. He absorbed all the Tao contained in the 10 sabers. The heroic appearances of many sovereign personages when they were young immediately appeared in his mind. After a while, Xiaochen opened his eyes, and a sharp light appeared in them. He thought to himself, these are truly weapons that a sovereign personage once used. Even though their cultivations were not high at that time, they still benefited a lot. After the Tao was absorbed, the 10 sabers immediately turned ordinary. The spiritual energy in them dimmed significantly, returning to their ordinary state. Xiaochen waved his hand, and the 10 sabers returned to their scabbards. Clang! Clang! Just at this moment, a familiar figure fell down the stairs of the second floor in a sorry state, grunting in pain. After that figure stood up, he quickly headed for the doors. This was where Xiaochen was. This person showed a flustered expression. He did not look where he was going at all, nearly crashing into the doors. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and gently placed it on that person's shoulder, firmly pinning him to the ground. That person looked up in shock. When he saw that it was Xiaochen, his face lit up in joy. Martial uncle! This was the Purple Flame Sect's Ling Yu, who had entered the fiendish demon battlefield with Xiaochen. Ling Yu, quickly hand over the treasure weapon in your hand. Before Xiaochen could exchange pleasantries, the disciples who injured Ling Yu rushed over. Chapter 1697. The disciples of the other sects had more or less heard of it, and their hurried footsteps immediately came to a halt. It's him! He is the white-robed Xiaochen. The words that were originally intended to threaten Xiaochen turned into all sorts of cries of pain. In the blink of an eye, only 2 true inheritors remained standing. One of the 2 true inheritors, a blue-clad youth, shouted coldly when he saw Xiaochen fiddling with his short sword. Even if Xiaochen could face Shangguan Lei, there were more than 100 people rushing over. What was left behind was a group of cultivators from the various sects, who could only swallow their saliva and look at each other in dismay. That Tao tool was definitely even more incredible. The news of the white-robed Xiaochen defeating the Little Thunder Saber with 1 saber strike on Thunder Controlling Peak and facing off against Shangguan Lei had set the Black Cave Mountain abuzz. Xiaochen did not draw his short sword, but he felt a cold sharpness and a weak aura of the great Tao. However, Xiaochen smiled faintly. I won't hide it from you. Let's not talk about that. Who left these injuries on you? Ling Yu had not wasted all his hard work and time. Xiaochen, this is not your problem. Just stay out of other people's business. Ling Yu found this somewhat inconceivable. Just earlier, he was still thinking about how to deal with this problem. Several Black Cave Mountain core disciples in the passageway recognized Xiao Chen, and their expressions changed slightly. The veritable essence energy that surged out of Xiao Chen's primal core was weaker than he expected. However, he was still satisfied. Boom! Just this point deterred anyone from acting rashly. Xiao Chen still did not say a word. He sent out another palm strike. This palm strike was even more tyrannical and tyrannical. Like before, he used his full power. However, the might that erupted out was even more ferocious. A person's name was like a tree's shadow. Although Xiao Chen was not famous now, Shangguan Lei's reputation was very resounding. Shangguan Lei could face off against Xiao Chen and leave calmly. These people were at least late-stage minor primal core cultivators, and they were all core disciples of the various sections. Otherwise, they would not have dared to fight for peak treasure weapons. Dusting off his hands, Xiao Chen walked straight to the second floor as if he had done something very casual. You can fight back how I did to you. I won't help you. As long as Xiao Chen refused to hand over the ink cloud sword, they could work together. Xiao Chen couldn't help but be curious. What kind of precious weapon could make such a person so angry? Even if it was a Dao soldier, it was probably only SOS. But after 3 palm strikes, the situation had completely reversed, leaving them dumbfounded. Bang bang bang. A large group of people appeared on the stairs of the second floor. All of them were brimming with killing intent, and their cultivations were not ordinary. All of them were core disciples of various sections. 1 or 2 of them were actually true disciples. It seemed like every time he used his full power, he could dig out more of the potential of his 9-star primal core. It was indeed a good sword. The 10,000 weapon pavilion truly lived up to its reputation as one of the 3 most popular forces in the fiendish demon battlefield. Xiao Chen received the short sword. The words, "Ink Cloud," were carved on the scabbard. Just by holding the scabbard, he could feel the surging energy contained in the sword. This was the difficulty of fighting for a Dao tool and a precious weapon. It was not like subduing a weapon would make it yours. The blue-clad youth turned his head slightly and looked at the other heavenly profound sect true inheritor from the Black Cave Mountain. He said, "Brother Zhang Yu, don't you agree?" Of course, Xiao Chen would not do that. He had already comprehended the Saber Dao's great Dao energy. With this thought, the blue-clad youth no longer showed any fear. A ferocious look appeared on his face once more, and he was about to speak up in agreement with the two. How strong! When Xiao Chen pushed out with his palm strike, 6 stars lit up in the veritable essence energy in his 9-star primal core. However, the speed of the explosion was even faster. The 100-odd core disciples and the 2 true inheritors on the ground crashed into the wall like sandbags. He is already as strong as Shangguan Lei. How did he do it? The main thing is those 2 true inheritors. I can deal with one. However, with 2 attacking together and the attacks of the others, I can't block them at all. Xiao Chen, why are you still not handing over the ink cloud sword? Are you really thinking of blocking so many of us for your friend? Zhang Yu retorted coldly, making his intentions clear. Zhang Yu was originally Xiao Chen's greatest competitor. However, at this moment, Zhang Yu wanted to work with him. When the disciples on the first floor saw this, their lips twitched. Are those really the core disciples of the various sects? Bang! The veritable essence energy in the palm wind knocked the 2 true inheritors, who had just turned around, into the wall. 5 golden stars flickered on the crystal primal core. If one used it for 3 to 5 years, one would be able to condense a Dao. The comprehension of a cultivator would be even better than obtaining a Dao tool. Is this still the martial uncle that I know? After flipping over the 2 true inheritors, Xiao Chen tossed them to Ling Yu's feet, 1 in each hand. At the same time, he returned the short sword to Ling Yu. After all, true inheritors were already very strong. In their opinion, if one of them fought against the peak minor primal core Xiao Chen, the odds of victory would be 40 to 60. If the 2 worked together, they would be able to win. A strong wind kicked up by veritable essence energy howled in the surroundings. The long hair of the 2 true inheritors fluttered wildly, and they found it hard to keep their eyes open. Bang! 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 If the two still dared to stand here, they would be seeking death. Then, they landed on the ground. This strike was very ruthless. They felt like most of their bones had shattered. Infused with the great Tao's might, Xiaoqun drove his veritable essence energy. Resplendent purple energy flowed through the meridians in his body. It was like a surging river gushing endlessly, giving off thunderous roars. All the energy in his body burst forth as he pushed his palm forward. The two true inheritors felt bitter in their hearts. They did not dare to say anything more as they turned and fled. They already knew how horrifying Shangguan Lei was. Right now, Xiaoqun's strength rivaled Shangguan Lei's. The crystal stone primal core lit up 6 stars. Their expressions immediately turned grave. This was a treasure weapon that was about to give birth to a great Tao. No wonder everyone coveted it. Before the two true inheritors could say anything, they vomited blood and went flying. Without the strength of a true inheritor, they were caught off guard and went flying. After they fell to the ground, they howled in pain. Aside from the heavenly shaking mountain's various Confucian sects, the Padala mountain's various temples, and even the Black Cave mountain's sects, there were also these people. No matter how one looked at it, Xiaoqun had no chance of victory at all. One had to be able to face the encirclement of more than 100 people and still be able to flee calmly. This was how people were. If they could not obtain something, they could not obtain it. With the two true inheritors holding the line, the other core disciples of the various sects immediately felt much more confident. Xiaoqun nodded to indicate his understanding. Then he walked over and picked up the many core disciples piled together like they were cabbages before tossing them out. Ling Yu wiped off the blood at the corner of his lips and took out a short sword. Xiaoqun frowned slightly. It looked like he still needed some time to familiarize himself with the full might of a 9-star primal core. Suddenly, Xiaoqun's aura soared. His originally suppressed tyrannical aura was already frightening. Without Xiaoqun suppressing it, it was released to its heart's content. What treasure weapon did you find? It's this. 3 palm strikes. With just 3 palm strikes, Xiaoqun severely injured a group of core disciples and 2 true inheritors, rendering them incapable of fighting anymore. Martial uncle, since when did you become so strong? Ling Yu gaped, speechless for a long time, completely stunned. Bang! With a thought, Xiaoqun sent out another palm strike. The purple thunder divine incantation circulated wildly, and his clothes flapped loudly. His long hair and stern face looked exceptionally scary. Before this strong palm wind, the many core disciples found it hard to move, not to mention working together. Even their freedom of movement was restricted. No wonder Ling Yu was in such a sorry state despite his great increase in strength. Before Xiaoqun's cultivation advanced, he might not have been able to take it. Just the thought of witnessing the birth of a complete great Tao energy at one's own hands was exciting. As long as 1 or 2 people stood out and called on everyone present to attack together, why would they fear an insignificant Xiaoqun? However, the silent Xiaoqun did not say a word. He raised his head and looked at them coldly. Then, a strong aura erupted from his body. Ling Yu recalled that when his martial uncle was a half-step primal core cultivator, he could barely exchange 100 moves with him. Before entering the mountain, Xiaoqun was clearly not this horrifying. Xiaoqun's strong quintessence knocked back the 2 true inheritors who bore the brunt of the attack. The core disciples of the various sects behind them, who were about to chime in, were all stunned. Chapter 1698. They could run about freely. However, the cultivators who came here faced many restrictions. When that person walked out, he did not show a smile on his face as he looked coldly at Xiaoqun. One had only a small wound on its body, a fatal strike that struck a vital point. The other had died a miserable death. The injuries on its body were clearly the result of a combined attack. By the 4th floor, nearly everyone was a treasure weapon. Every one of them was a superior grade treasure weapon. However, there were not many peak treasure weapons. Xiaoqun found this name somewhat familiar. After a while, he recalled it. It was the top true inheritor of the Heavenly Profound sect. This had attracted a Confucian scholar from the Heavenly Shaking Mountain, who had chased after it with great difficulty. In a moment of carelessness, That sword suddenly turned around. Thank you. However, the two corpses simply lay there, while the others ignored them. Their expressions were cold, causing people to feel an indescribable chill. Xiao Chen's expression did not change. He said indifferently, "Nice to meet you. Everyone, there is no need to misunderstand. I will not take this saber. Don't worry." Xiao Chen smiled disdainfully, revealing a trace of mockery. A Dao tool was very mighty. When combined with his veritable essence energy and great Dao energy, its might increased. Ling Yu must have found that short sword on the 5th floor. After being surrounded, he fled to the 1st floor and lured away most of the cultivators. The heavenly profound sex Gongziemo? This was a Dao tool with a thick saber on its back. It gave off a heavy feeling. This saber was definitely boundlessly tyrannical, focusing on being bold and unyielding. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. When he looked around, he immediately discovered the two corpses. Before entering the fiendish demon battlefield, Ling Yu had told Xiao Chen to take note of some people. This Gongziemo was one of them. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "Thank you. You are very fortunate. The heavenly profound sex Gongziemo. I met you at Thunder Controlling Peak before. Aside from the restrictions of the 10,000 weapon pavilion, every good treasure weapon had its own temper. If one was not fated, it would be exceptionally difficult to subdue them by force." A strand of sword chi pierced towards Xiao Chen's eyes. At such a close distance, there was no way to dodge it. At the same time, Xiao Chen infused his veritable essence energy and great Dao energy into the saber. The smell of blood. The Dao might of these sabers were all incredibly strong. However, Xiao Chen found it unfortunate that they were not treasured sabers that he could use. In such an environment, subduing a Dao soldier was already difficult enough. No one would be willing to be distracted by something unimportant. Regardless of whether he needed the saber or not, who wouldn't be happy to be acknowledged? The 5th floor was filled with top-notch precious weapons, but there were only a few people subduing precious weapons. "Be careful, don't be reckless." Xiao Chen waved his hand and the sword landed in front of the Confucian scholar. "I'll give it to you." They hurriedly retreated and gathered together. They spread out their true origin shields and assumed defensive positions. The scabbard slammed into his abdomen, causing him to fall to the ground in pain. His facial features were squeezed together. The value of the Dao tool had already caused these disciples of the righteous sects to completely disregard human nature. Immediately, some people revealed surprised expressions when they saw the direction it was coming from. This small demonstration allowed Xiao Chen to personally experience subduing a treasure weapon in preparation for subduing a Dao tool. There was a total of 3 treasure weapons on this floor, all of them of different shapes. When Xiao Chen entered the 2nd floor, there were still profound weapons hovering in the air. However, there were already a few treasure weapons among them. There were only 20-odd people in the pavilion, making the great hall seem rather empty. The Dao tool chose its master. Any bladesman would feel happy when they saw this scene. One of the 3 treasure weapons seemed to sense Xiao Chen's gaze. With a whoosh, it flew over to him. The sword immediately trembled like a wild horse, trying to struggle free of Xiao Chen's hand. Xiao Chen did not even look at it. His figure flashed as he entered the 3rd floor. Most of the treasure weapons on the 3rd floor were profound weapons mixed in. Nearly all the 6th floor was filled with Dao tools. Even if they were not Dao tools, they were treasure weapons like the Ink Cloud Sword. With a thought, the Dao tool on the ground sensed Xiao Chen's killing intent and charged at Gongziemo. Whoosh! The treasure sword came out of its scabbard on its own. When the sword came out by 1 centimeter, it gave off a piercing light. The sharp sword light made one's heart tremble. For example, the person who subdued a treasure sword. The sword flew around in the air, moving freely in this 10,000 weapon pavilion, which gave off immense pressure. The Confucian scholar resting on the ground reminded Xiao Chen out of goodwill when he saw that he was about to go to the 6th floor. Xiao Chen could sense the bloodline of one of the great desolate Eon's 10,000 races. Furthermore, that person's cultivation had reached late-stage major primal core realm. Suddenly, Xiao Chen felt many cold gazes. The 10 true inheritors of the various sects, who were subduing Dao tools, all stopped what they were doing and looked at him coldly. Subduing a treasure weapon was an extremely difficult process. It might even be dangerous. The weapons that were not subdued in the 10,000 weapon pavilion were all hot-tempered horses. The 10,000 weapon pavilion was a natural horse farm. Xiao Chen forcefully clamped down on that formless sword chi with 2 fingers, turning it into a tangible sword light less than 1 centimeter away from his face. Xiao Chen did not find this strange. He looked around, searching for a Dao tool that was suitable for him. Xiao Chen ferociously clamped down with his left hand and drove the veritable essence energy in his 9-star primal core, lighting up 6 stars on his 9-star primal core. When the Confucian scholar on the ground saw this scene, his expression changed drastically. The other cultivators subduing treasure weapons were startled. Xiao Chen pressed his hand on the sword hilt and smashed the entire sword into the ground. The scabbard sank into the ground by 1 centimeter, but it no longer moved. The greatest taboo was being interrupted and sneak attacked. Every time an outsider arrived, the people subduing the treasure weapon would be very careful. The less trouble, the better. Xiao Chen's target was the 7th floor, the highest floor of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. He did not want to get embroiled in a fight before he entered. This Gongzi Mo did not give Xiao Chen any face at all. He said indifferently, "In the fiendish demon battlefield, strength speaks for everything. This is not thunder controlling peak. Don't play any tricks." A huge force spread out. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave as he clenched his fists tightly. However, he showed no intention of letting go. The true inheritors that dared to be here were definitely not like the 2 people on the 1st floor. While they might not be comparable to his sect's Hua Yunfeng, they were at least at the true profound realm. In an instant, 10-odd elite true inheritors stared at him. Even Xiao Chen felt some pressure. Xiao Chen let go, and the sword light shattered like ice. Then, he pushed his left hand forward. Although the Heavenly Profound sect was a rank 3 sect in the Black Cave Mountain and could not compare to the Purple Flame sect, the top true inheritor was definitely worthy of his reputation. After observing for a while, Xiao Chen gained a rough understanding of how to subdue a weapon. Then he headed for the 6th floor. Xiao Chen did not have any direct requirements for the saber. He only wanted one thing: fate. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "You want it? In that case, I'll give it to you." Everyone focused on subduing the Dao tool they wanted, not bothering about anything else. Even when Xiao Chen entered, he only gave it a quick glance. The Dao tool shone brightly, and Gongzi Mo's expression changed as he forcefully caught the saber. This Dao might spread out, and the pressure on the 6th floor was immense. Gongzi Mo was immediately knocked back, and blood leaked out of his lips. "Ha! You think you can give up just because you said so? Do you think you can speak? Subdue this saber and give it to us. Otherwise, you can forget about leaving alive." Sometimes, when a treasure sword was unsheathed and released a strand of sword chi, one might even lose their life. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Comprehending the saber Dao's great Dao energy on his own was rather interesting. "Friend, there will be Dao tools if we go up another floor. The pressure there is even greater. If we are not careful, we might really die." Clang! When the others discovered that Xiao Chen did not show any signs of making a move, they continued to subdue the peak treasure weapons. Their expressions were focused and strenuous. That Confucian scholar stuttered in shock. He had not expected happiness to come so suddenly. He had not expected Xiao Chen to subdue this treasure weapon so easily. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he looked at the treasure sword that the Confucian scholar chased earlier. Then he narrowed his eyes and grasped it. Xiao Chen's arrival immediately attracted the attention of the 5 or 6 people present. They stopped subduing the treasure weapons and looked at him warily. It was like taming a fine horse. It was not as easy as one imagined. If one ran into one with a bad temper, one might even end up hurting oneself. A weapon that caught one's eye and aroused a strong desire in one's heart was the weapon that one wanted. Of course, if one truly subdued a Dao tool, then these people would pay attention to one at all times and suddenly attack. After charging up to the 6th floor, Xiao Chen clearly felt the pressure increase. His feet felt like lead, making it difficult to walk. He had to constantly expend veritable essence energy to resist this pressure. When facing a Dao tool that Xiao Chen got along with, Xiao Chen still dared to threaten him. He was overestimating himself. Unfortunately, you cannot handle it. Chapter 1699. After sending Gongzi Mo flying with a single strike, Xiao Chen smiled coldly. No one on the 6th floor dared to look down on him anymore. Gongzi Mo paled. He hesitated about activating his great desolate Ian bloodline to regain his face. However, who knew that after Xiao Chen comforted the Dao soldier, he went straight up to the 7th floor without even looking back. 7th floor. It turned out that Xiao Chen's target had been the 7th floor all along. The true inheritors of the various sects present were all stunned. Their faces sank, and they all revealed surprised expressions. The 7th floor was a place that even they did not dare to go to. Everyone knew that the 7th floor stored the best Dao tools. However, the people who dared to go to the 7th floor were as rare as phoenix feathers and qilin horns in the 3 blessed lands. Not only did they have to be strong, they also had to be courageous and charismatic. The 7th floor was filled with Dao soldiers. As dozens of Dao might layered over each other, it was boundlessly majestic. Under that pressure, he still had to subdue the Dao soldiers. If he was not careful, he would die on the spot. You are famous in the blessed lands, dazzling among your peers. You are even more famous in the entire Grave Sea cluster. You already have a bright future ahead of you. As long as you follow the prescribed order, you will be able to become an important figure in the sect. In the future, you will be able to roam the sea of clouds freely. However, now that you have come to the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion 7th floor, you must have the determination and courage to believe that you are already dead, that all the glory has nothing to do with you. Without great courage, no one would dare to go up to the 7th floor. For example, Gongzi Mo was strong enough and had the bloodline of the desolate 10,000 races. However, he didn't dare to go up. There was no other reason. It was because he cherished his life. However, at this moment, Xiao Chen, who had just been threatened, turned around and directly stepped into the 7th floor. The thought of using his great desolate Ian bloodline to take a gamble immediately vanished. Now, he felt a stifling sense of defeat. When facing such a courageous person, even if he used his great desolate Ian bloodline, the other party would still dare to fight with his life on the line. Cowering before the battle, how could one talk about victory? Xiao Chen, who had charged into the 7th floor, did not care about what Gongzi Mo thought. He was a person who did not dare to enter the 7th floor. No matter how strong he was, he wouldn't put him in his eyes. This person wasn't worth remembering. The entrance to the 7th floor was a barrier formed by a curtain of water and light. If one wanted to enter the 7th floor, they had to pass through the barrier first, which was equivalent to setting up a threshold. Before this barrier, Xiao Chen felt a surging might and pressure that felt like a surging wave. Just by standing there, he felt an immense pressure, making it difficult for him to move. What? A figure appeared on the water screen. It was Xiao Chen himself, looking at him coldly. With a thought, Xiao Chen immediately guessed the purpose of the water screen. Only by killing himself could a dead person enter the 10,000 Weapon Pavilion 7th floor. Only those who had forgotten about life and death and dared to fight with their lives could enter the 7th floor. Immediately, Xiao Chen sucked in a breath of air. Those who dared to enter the 7th floor, aside from those who were extremely strong, were all ruthless people who dared to risk their lives. They did not care about the glory in front of them. They only wanted to obtain a Dao tool and fight for their future. Their vision was no longer limited to the Cloud Sea cluster. This kind of person was the most terrifying. However, fortunately, Xiao Chen was such a person as well. He desired this kind of competition, which could make the hot-bloodedness in his body surge again. Spreading out his great Dao energy and forgetting about life and death, Xiao Chen strode forward and passed through the water screen. Kasi! Xiao Chen's figure on the water screen immediately shattered. After entering this door, he no longer cared about life and death. What a strong pressure! The moment Xiao Chen entered, he felt an immense pressure everywhere. The air pressed down on him like waves. Xiao Chen! Just at this moment, a soft exclamation rang out. Xiao Chen looked in the direction of the voice and saw that it was the top true inheritor of his sect, Hua Yunfeng. At this moment, Hua Yunfeng was subduing a treasure sword. Normally, Hua Yunfeng was calm. Now, he found it difficult to move, feeling a mountain-like pressure. When Hua Yunfeng saw Xiao Chen arrive, he revealed a look of surprise on his face. Xiao Chen nodded slightly as a form of greeting. Then, he started to observe the environment of the 7th floor. The 7th floor was very vast, especially with the few people scattered around. It appeared even more spacious. Another difference from the other floors was that the ceiling was extremely high. When one looked up, one could not see the ceiling clearly. It was at least 3 kilometers tall. Furthermore, due to the support of the Tao Might, when one looked up, one would get the misconception that it was infinitely tall. All the Tao tools formed a small circle in the middle and climbed all the way to the ceiling. Including Xiao Chen and Hua Yunfeng, there were only 8 people on the entire 7th floor. The Padala mountain had a total of 3 monks. Aside from Hua Yunfeng and Xiao Chen, there was a woman who cultivated righteous qi and 2 other Confucian scholars from the heavenly shaking mountain. That woman had delicate features and looked valiant and formidable. She looked even more righteous than the male Confucian scholars. When she saw Xiao Chen looking at her, she smiled faintly and continued subduing the Tao tool that she wanted, a Confucian sect sword. The 3 monks ignored Xiao Chen's arrival, focusing on subduing the Tao tool that they wanted. As for the 2 Confucian scholars, they only glanced at Xiao Chen indifferently and ignored him. However, it looked like the situation was not good, including Hua Yunfeng's. Subduing the Tao tool was still a long way off. The Tao Might here was too strong. They could not even bring out 50% of their strength. The various Tao tools were even more unruly and unyielding, showing their pride. For example, one of the 3 monks was trying to subdue a heavy bronze Buddhist staff that glowed with Buddhist light, and after a few attempts, he failed. After a few attempts, not only did he not manage to touch it, but he even got severely injured. Fortunately, the monk's indestructible iron body had already reached a certain level, so it was not a big problem. It is time to find the Tao tool that I need. Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on the pillar formed by the Tao tools in the middle. Then, he looked from bottom to top, carefully searching. This saber has no scabbard, showing off its sharpness. It does not know how to endure. Not suitable. This saber has no edge and is very heavy. It is the first choice for vital qi cultivators. Not suitable. The Tao contained in this saber is the flame Tao. It has nothing to do with me. Not suitable. Not suitable. Not suitable. Not suitable. Xiao Chen rejected 10-odd Tao tools with one glance. Then he looked higher and higher. In the blink of an eye, he had finished choosing everything he could see. Whoosh! Enduring the immense pressure, Xiao Chen could only soar into the air and continue choosing. Those who bite off more than they can chew will fall sooner or later. Nanjing, one of the 2 male Confucian scholars, looked at Xiao Chen with increasingly higher standards. He coldly eyed him in disdain. The others also revealed mocking expressions at Nanjin's actions. Xiao Chen truly did not know his limits. The Tao Might of the 7th floor was boundlessly vast. Even standing on the ground was difficult. To think that Xiao Chen dared to fly up. He was truly suicidal. Brother Xiao Chen, don't be too rash. This place is different from the outside world. If you accidentally trigger the rage of the Tao tools, you might be affected by the attacks of many Tao Might. It is best to be careful. Hua Yunfeng could not bear to watch this. However, Xiao Chen was an honored guest of the Purple Flame sect, after all, so he warned Xiao Chen out of goodwill with a slight frown. Many thanks for Brother Hua's warning. I will be careful. Xiao Chen thought to himself, although these people have abandoned their obsession with life and death, the cautiousness in their bones cannot be changed. If not for the special reason that he could not find a Tao tool that he liked, Xiao Chen would not have taken such a risk. However, Xiao Chen would never compromise. The saber was a bladesman's second life. All the more, he could not afford to be careless. He absolutely could not choose a random saber. If he wanted to choose, he had to choose one that he liked. Otherwise, he would not be able to bring out the full might of the saber. A vast Tao might surged over. Xiao Chen felt like he was carrying a mountain as he soared into the air. The pressure was immense. Whoosh! Suddenly, for some reason, a prideful sword drew out by 1 centimeter. A strand of intense, dazzling light, accompanied by a strand of sword qi, stabbed at Xiao Chen. This caught Xiao Chen off guard, startling him. Fortunately, he had been careful, remaining cautious. Xiao Chen threw a punch with all his might, shattering this strand of sword qi. However, his fist was dripping with blood. The injury was too horrible to look at. Even his bones were exposed. This showed how sharp the sword light was. Whoosh, whoosh. The sword qi shattered into countless pieces that flew in all directions, creating a strong gust of wind that caused the environment in the 7th floor to become even worse. This brat is really seeking death. The other male Confucian scholar, Gong Sun Pa, shook his head and continued subduing the sword that caught his eye. Slowly, Xiao Chen figured out the pattern. After he reached a certain height, he would get attacked by a Dao tool every 100 meters. Hence, after ascending for less than 1 kilometer, Xiao Chen was already riddled with wounds. His white robes were stained with blood. Slowly, the expressions of the others changed as they looked at Xiao Chen. They all felt a horror in their hearts. This white-clad man's will was too tenacious. The Dao tools here were the best of the best, not much different from each other. There was no need to fly so high and take such a huge risk, all for the sake of a saber that caught their eye. The Dao tools that these people chose were not to their liking. However, as long as they were passable, it would be fine. As long as one could bring out a Dao tool, it would already be an incredible matter. It would definitely shake up the entire Grave Sea. In the future, one would be confident of advancing to the Cloud Sea realm, gaining boundless glory. Xiao Chen's stubbornness was truly foolish. Where did this fellow come from? Why does he not have the air of a famous sect at all? Hua Yunfeng's heart pounded. Right now, Xiao Chen looked like a barbarian to him. Whoosh! Suddenly, a spear appeared at lightning speed, thrusting at Xiao Chen in an irregular manner. A spot of cold light flashed in the surroundings. The expressions of the 7 people below changed. This spear was too fast and too cold. It was merciless. They could not dodge it. The piercing cold light made everyone close their eyes involuntarily. When they opened their eyes again, they saw that Xiao Chen had already grasped the spear. However, Xiao Chen forcefully pushed the spearhead back by 2 centimeters, avoiding a vital point and stabbing into his shoulder. Cold qi entered Xiao Chen's body, and the great Dao energy of the ice Dao spread throughout his body. His body immediately wobbled, on the verge of collapsing at any moment. His 9-star primal core bore the brunt of the attack, getting sealed in ice. Xiao Chen's limbs turned cold, and his entire body turned stiff. His body slowly fell. The ice froze his other injuries, making him completely numb. Buzz! 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 The spear still trembled endlessly. Even after the sudden strike, its energy did not diminish. Instead, it poured into Xiao Chen's body in an unending stream. I've gone too far. Despair welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. His limbs turned numb. It felt like even his blood was frozen. He could not activate his great desolate Ian bloodline even if he wanted to. Just as Xiao Chen's consciousness turned hazy, a bright saber light flashed above the Dao tool pillar. Xiao Chen's originally lifeless eyes caught sight of this saber light and saw half of the Dao tool. In the next moment, the saber light vanished, and he could no longer see it. An intense, irrepressible desire immediately welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's the Dao tool that I spent so much effort to find. I absolutely cannot give up here. I absolutely cannot. Chapter 1700. The most tenacious will from the bottom of his heart allowed Xiao Chen to withstand this boundless pressure, not giving up even in the face of adversity. Influenced by this will, the frozen blood in Xiao Chen's body slowly started to surge and flow in his body once more. After recovering his qi and blood, Xiao Chen used all his strength and shouted. Then, he grabbed the spear with his right hand and ferociously pulled it out. Like he was venting, he tossed the spear to the ground. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Frost froze all over Xiao Chen's body and fell to the ground. He regained his mobility, and the energy of his 9-star primal core broke through the ice. In the next moment, Xiao Chen circulated his veritable essence energy, expelling 80% of the cold qi. A resplendent flame burned on Xiao Chen's palms. Hua Yunfeng, who was about to make a move to save Xiao Chen, felt startled when he saw this scene and stopped. After tossing the spear away, Xiao Chen's aura soared. He roared ferociously and flew forward at lightning speed, heading for the treasure saber that interested him. Could this fellow have really succeeded? Such a scene, a startling counterattack, excited the others. Some of them felt anticipation, some of them envious, and a faint murderous intent lingered in their hearts. Xiao Chen, who was going against the flow, made a breakthrough in his aura, reaching a whole new level. This made his aura flourish. Saber light and Dao might spread all over his body. His white robes were stained with blood, adding to his elegance. His body was covered in wounds, showing his glory. The only woman present could not help but reveal a hint of admiration in her eyes. Compared to the elegant and scholarly Wang Yueming, this person seemed to be more manly. The heavenly shaking mountain's Wang Yueming was handsome, elegant, and outstanding. He was the dream lover of many women in the heavenly shaking mountain. Of course, this woman only felt this out of pure admiration and did not have any other intentions. She did not even have any other thoughts about Wang Yueming. This person's name was Bai Yu. Before entering the fiendish demon battlefield, he was one of Wang Yueming's 3 great opponents. I see it. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. After reaching 2 kilometers, he peered through the layers of Dao might and saw the treasure saber that was imprinted in his heart. The saber was sheathed. It was 4 feet long, straight and tough. It was an extended Dao tool that looked like a horizontal saber. Perfect. Other than perfect, Xiao Chen couldn't think of any other words to describe it. This was the companion he dreamed of. Bang! But just as he got close, the saber suddenly moved. With lightning speed, the end of the scabbard stabbed into Xiao Chen's chest. Puchi! In the air, Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood. Then, he plummeted toward the ground at a speed several times faster than when he had arrived. With a loud bang, he fell to the ground. Xiao Chen felt as though his entire back was falling apart. There wasn't a single part of his body that didn't hurt, and he couldn't help but groan in pain. Pooh! When the scholar named Nanjin saw Xiao Chen's miserable appearance after falling from the heavens to the bottom of the valley, he could not help but mock him. I thought he was some kind of shocking figure, but it turns out that he's only SOS. Nanjin smiled coldly and ignored him, continuing to subdue her Dao tools. However, Xiao Chen's Dao tool did not look like it would submit at all. After it exhausted its energy and stamina, failure was only a matter of time. Hua Yunfeng walked over with a bitter smile. He stretched out his hand and said, I respect you for being a man. Xiao Chen, who had fallen to the ground, was in so much pain that he wished he were dead. When he heard this, he could not help but smile. He took Hua Yunfeng's hand and pulled him up. Xiao Chen took out the 2 medicinal pills that Yi Zifeng left behind. Xiao Chen consumed one and gave the other to Hua Yunfeng. Phoenix Blood Pill. This is the holy pill for treating injuries that Martial Grand Uncle obtained in the Great Thousand Realms. Hua Yunfeng smelled it and immediately recognized it. However, he did not accept it. You are not keeping it for yourself? Given your tenacity, even if you fail again, you will not give up, right? Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly and said, I already consumed it twice. If I consume it again, the effects will be much weaker. Most importantly, I only have one chance. Xiao Chen vaguely sensed that the saber would only give him one more chance. If he failed, he would never succeed. It would be very difficult for Xiao Chen to gather his aura 3 times. Doing it in one go would be the best. However, Xiao Chen failed. It was hard to avoid his aura weakening a second time. A third time, no matter how strong his will was, it would hit rock bottom. Some things could not be changed by a person's will. After all, the body was made of flesh and blood. When Hua Yunfeng heard that, he accepted the phoenix blood pill. That is too unfortunate. You should choose something else. It might not be the best. Xiao Chen's eyes blazed with determination. I do not know if it is the best or not. I only know that it is most suitable for me. If I cannot obtain it, I will leave the 10,000 weapon pavilion. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? Hua Yunfeng could not help feeling stunned for a while as he watched Xiao Chen focus on treating his injuries, not discouraged at all. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? Hua Yunfeng muttered to himself, feeling ashamed of his inferiority. Bai Yu, who had been paying attention to the two, was also stunned for a while. What is the point of obtaining it if I do not love it? The others had long since stopped paying attention to Xiao Chen. They did not believe that Xiao Chen, who fell to the ground in a sorry state from that gentle strike, had any chance. As Xiao Chen closed his eyes and treated his injuries, he quickly thought about the reasons for his earlier failure. The first was that he was too severely injured and lacked experience. He got injured the first time he encountered the Dao Tool's attack. After that, he continuously dodged every 100 meters, accumulating strength, causing his injuries to erupt. By the time he got close to that treasured saber, his combat prowess was already less than 20%. The second was that he did not expect that Dao Tool's attack speed to be so fast and ferocious. The Dao Tool did not give Xiao Chen a chance to react at all, stabbing him down. The final reason was that Xiao Chen's will was not strong enough. The instant the Dao Tool struck him, the cold assaulted his body. Xiao Chen's primal core and blood froze. His first reaction was to give up. After entering this door, he had already given up on life and death. If he still gave up, he would simply be lying to himself. Whether he truly had the boldness to risk his life or not, whether he truly had the determination to go all out in one go, was the key to success. Did he? Xiao Chen asked himself 3 times in his heart. Each time, it penetrated deep into his soul, into his bones, and into the surging hot-bloodedness in his entire body. After repeating it 3 times, Xiao Chen opened his eyes and looked at the treasured saber at the top. Xiao Chen did not hesitate at all. With a howl, he charged up decisively. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. As Xiao Chen ascended, he resisted the pressure, advancing without retreating. As he ascended, the Dao Tools along the way attacked him continuously every 100 meters. However, this time, Xiao Chen did not dodge. The more he dodged, the more cautious he became. Under the suppression of the Dao might above him, his injuries became even more severe. This was because every moment he delayed worsened his injuries by 100-fold. As Xiao Chen ascended, he absorbed all the attacks from the Dao Tools. However, because he was too slow, his injuries only accumulated and did not erupt. His combat prowess did not decrease. It was as if a monstrous flood had accumulated to a terrifying degree, but it had just touched the dam. The moment it touched the dam, it was safe. In the next moment, when the flood's energy erupted, the dam would collapse. Right now, Xiao Chen felt the same way. He only had 3 seconds to recover to his peak state. In these 3 seconds, the accumulated injuries would erupt, and his injuries would be even more severe than the previous time. However, these 3 seconds were sufficient. These 3 seconds were what Xiao Chen lacked. He looked at the unruly Dao Tool and saw the treasured saber stabbing at him at lightning speed again without hesitation. With Xiao Chen's peak combat prowess, the lightning-fast speed of that treasured saber seemed much slower in Xiao Chen's eyes. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and grabbed it firmly before the Dao Tool could injure him. Rumble! The treasured saber struggled continuously in Xiao Chen's hand. The entire hall of the 7th floor started shaking intensely. The treasured saber erupted with startling energy. Xiao Chen showed a ferocious expression as he gritted his teeth. Veins popped out on his arms as he refused to let go. 1 second passed. 2 seconds passed. It looked like the 3 seconds would be up soon. The horrifying injuries from dozens of Dao Tools would erupt. Suddenly, Xiao Chen's clear eyes shone with a golden light. He opened his great desolate divine eyes and instantly activated his blue dragon bloodline. The tyrannical dragon might of the ancient blue dragon spread out from Xiao Chen's body. He shouted ferociously, sounding like a true dragon roaring. "Get down!" Xiao Chen held the treasured saber with his right hand and ferociously pulled it down. Bang! 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 The Dao tools formed a circular pillar. As Xiao Chen descended at lightning speed, there was a loud sound. Boundless Dao might fluctuated, and the descending Dao tools were knocked away by Xiao Chen. Dang! The final second passed. Xiao Chen knelt on one knee while holding the scabbard. He stabbed the end of the scabbard into the ground. All the injuries and the repercussions of activating the blue dragon bloodline erupted. Xiao Chen could no longer hold back. All the skin on his body ruptured, and blood spurted out. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood, which splashed on the scabbard and slowly fell. The blood washed away the dust, revealing an ancient word on the scabbard. Tyrant! From the moment Xiao Chen opened his eyes to the moment he landed, only 6 seconds had passed. Many people turned their heads and discovered that Xiao Chen was already holding a Dao tool. He tyrannically knocked away hundreds of Dao tools before landing on one knee. A berserk aura spread out. Together with the blood-soaked Xiao Chen, everyone was startled. Nanjing, who had chuckled at Xiao Chen earlier, was stupefied. Her eyes nearly fell out. What's going on? The 3 monks blocked the aftershock of Xiao Chen's landing. Their expressions were as shocked as if they had seen the Kasyapa Buddha. Their movements completely froze. Hua Yunfeng felt somewhat agitated, showing an excited expression. Xiao Chen really did it. The heavenly shaking mountains by you looked around at the Dao tools that Xiao Chen knocked away. He felt somewhat speechless. This person was truly too tyrannical. Too ruthless. They were already ruthless enough, daring to take the risk and enter the 7th floor. However, compared to Xiao Chen, they were far from comparable. At the same time, the hundreds of layers of Dao might encasing the 10,000 weapon pavilion were also disrupted. The Dao might went out of control, and a berserk aura swept out in all directions, stirring up winds and clouds. The entire fiendish demon battlefield trembled. A terrifying, mysterious phenomenon enveloped the 10,000 weapon pavilion, spreading to every corner of the fiendish demon battlefield. Amid this chaotic and mixed Dao might, only a tyrannical aura was exceptionally clear. Everyone who felt it trembled in fear. Chapter 1701. On the 7th floor of the 10,000 weapon pavilion, Xiao Chen held the tyrant saber. His entire body was bathed in blood, on the verge of collapse. Not only were there many different great Dao energies in the injuries that had accumulated in his body, but there were also great Dao energies that were either icy cold, scorching hot, lightning, or disdain. There were dozens of great Dao energies, not just one. There were also the repercussions of activating the blue dragon bloodline. When the layers of great Dao energies exploded together, it was like a dam bursting, unstoppable. Xiao Chen's strong blue dragon war body and strong and resilient physique were like a dam bursting in a flood. Xiao Chen allowed the many terrifying Dao energies to run rampant in his body. His body was like a pool of stagnant water. If he did not control it, it would be extremely horrifying. In the next moment he would explode and die. This was not an exaggeration at all. The might of a Dao tool was horrifying in the first place. Furthermore, Xiao Chen endured dozens of different great Dao energies in one go. When they layered over each other, it could be said that his body was filled with demons. All the blood vessels in Xiao Chen's body burst, and blood oozed out of his body. He looked like a horrifying blood person. Hua Yunfeng reacted quickly. While the others were still in a daze, he took advantage of this chaotic moment. His figure flashed and arrived beside Xiao Chen. Then, he placed a palm strike on Xiao Chen's back. At this crucial moment, Hua Yunfeng sent a mouthful of warm veritable essence energy into Xiao Chen's body. Hua Yunfeng was fire attributed in the first place. Although he did not comprehend the fire Dao, he already grasped the flame domain and could control fire energy as he pleased. This mouthful of warm veritable essence energy was a life-saving straw. It temporarily neutralized the various chaotic great Tao energies in Xiao Chen's body. It gave the body a precious chance to catch a breath, and the originally stagnant body functions began to improve. Xiao Chen's originally stagnant body was like a highly efficient and precise machine moving slowly. Just at this moment, many murderous gazes landed on Xiao Chen at the same time. The appearance of a Dao tool would definitely change the ranking of the 3 Blessed Lands geniuses. To put it more accurately, it might even affect the ranking of the various factions for the next few hundred years. Be it to themselves or to their sects, it would have a direct impact. The outstanding talents here, be it the monks or the heavenly shaking mountains Confucian scholars, were all decisive and intelligent people. They instantly felt a murderous intent. You leave first. I'll hold them off for a while. There was no point in saying anything more. Hua Yunfeng turned around and arrived before Xiao Chen. Then he threw a palm strike and sent Xiao Chen flying toward the entrance of the 7th floor. Hua Yunfeng had always been a calm and scheming person. He cherished his reputation. His character was very well demonstrated on the thunder controlling peak. He would help Xiao Chen to the best of his ability. Beyond a certain price, they would consider all sorts of consequences and make their move. But now, when it came to the interests of the sect, he was incomparably decisive. At this moment, they had to protect Xiao Chen. No matter what, a Dao soldier had landed in their sect. It was definitely better than ending up in the hands of the other sects, even if they did not obtain the Dao tool. After sending Hua Yunfeng flying with a palm strike, Xiao Chen leaped into the air, using the momentum to leap out of the entrance. He turned his head and looked deeply at Hua Yunfeng, who had helped him delay the others. This person was worth befriending. With just a glance, he quickly turned around. Given the current situation, if he stayed here, he would definitely die. Not only would he not be able to help the other party, but he would also be a burden. Hua Yunfeng probably had some life-saving means and would not die so easily. The instant Xiao Chen turned his head back, his face sank. He discovered that the valiant female disciple of the heavenly shaking mountain was already waiting here. Baiyu was very intelligent. After she sighed when Xiao Chen obtained the Dao tool, she immediately knew that this was an opportunity. Her figure flashed out of the chaotic 7th floor and arrived at the entrance, waiting for her prey. Xiao Chen's first reaction was to draw his saber. However, when he did so, he could not draw it out of its scabbard. A stunned expression appeared on his face. A confident smile appeared on Baiyu's face. It looks like you did not have time to completely subdue this saber. Hand it over. Boom. However, who knew? After Xiao Chen revealed a stunned expression, he simply held the sheathed tyrant saber. In the time it took for a spark to fly, Xiao Chen executed the flawless saber technique's heartbreaking stance. This saber shattered the heart, shattering oneself first before shattering others. Xiao Chen was already injured to begin with. When his heart shattered, all sorts of intense pain appeared, pushing the pain from the heartbreaking stance to an unprecedented level. The sharpness of this move surpassed all the previous ones. Baiyu revealed an extremely shocked expression. She had not expected Xiao Chen to dare to clash head-on despite being so severely injured. When the weapons clashed, Baiyu did not suffer any injuries on the surface. However, her chest instantly shattered, and the intense pain made her tremble. There was no way to draw it in the first place. I was just lying to you. Xiao Chen did not follow up with another attack. Instead, he directly knocked Baiyu into the air and quickly descended. Baiyu fell by the wall, clutching her chest. She showed an expression of unbearable pain. She had never experienced such intense pain in her life. Xiao Chen entered the 6th floor. The many true inheritors immediately discovered the blood-soaked Xiao Chen. They all showed stunned expressions. Then, they looked around and fixed their gazes on the tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand. Their hearts immediately raced as 2 exciting words appeared in their minds. Dao tool. The strongest person here, Gong Zmo, thought quickly, wondering if he should use his great desolate Ian bloodline to gamble. However, when he thought about how Xiao Chen knocked him back with one move earlier and how helpless he felt, He feared that Xiao Chen still had a desperate move. If he attacked now, both sides would end up injured, and the others would benefit. However, anyone would be reluctant to give up just like that. Should I attack? Should I attack? Should I attack? Gong Zimo felt conflicted. Bang! How could Xiao Chen care so much? When he saw Gong Zimo's unfocused gaze and restless thoughts, his figure flashed and he stabbed the scabbard into Gong Zimo's chest. Gong Zimo was knocked into the ground and vomited a mouthful of blood. His complexion paled, and his eyes filled with horror. When Gong Zimo saw Xiao Chen's ferocious gaze and tyrannical aura, he felt that death was so close to him for the first time in his life. He was hesitant, decisive, and soft. The opportunity was right in front of him, but this Gong Zimo could not grasp it. It could only be said that despite his strength, he was still trash in the end. I'll spare your life. Xiao Chen, who no longer had the strength to continue attacking, said coldly. Then, before the others could react, he quickly rushed down. Gong Zimo held his wound and heaved a long sigh. He felt that it was good to be alive. However, Gong Zimo suddenly thought of something, and heavy regret appeared on his face. That bastard attacked so ruthlessly and decisively. If he could kill me, how could he not kill me? He was simply injured and could not continue killing me. The blockhead Gong Zimo finally became smart for once. However, he was heavily injured, so he could not give chase. Gong Zimo roared, "Bunch of fools! What are you all standing there for? That bastard is injured. Quickly chase after him. He holds a Dao tool. How can we let him off?" The true inheritors of the other sects startled to their senses. They all showed regretful expressions, frightened by Xiao Chen. Now that Xiao Chen reminded them, they immediately came to their senses and gave chase. The vast sixth floor was now empty. Only Gong Zimo remained. He clenched his fist as he lay on the ground, continuously pounding the floor. Damn it! Damn it! Why did I hesitate? That earlier moment might have been the best opportunity for Gong Zimo to obtain a Dao tool in his life. However, not only did he not accomplish anything, but he even got severely injured by Xiao Chen. Furthermore, he even had to thank Xiao Chen for sparing his life. Gong Zimo's thoughts were in a mess. Regret and hatred filled his heart. His lips twitched and he could not breathe properly. Then he vomited a mouthful of blood. Capture him. He holds a Dao tool. When Gong Zimo reached the fifth floor, he could no longer muddle his way through. The cultivators of the various floors all startled awake and chased after him, not willing to let up for even a moment. Xiao Chen showed a calm expression as he held the tyrant saber. Aside from occasionally causing some chaos, he did not linger. However, the chase did not stop. There were people from the sixth floor, the fifth floor, the fourth floor, the third floor, the second floor. Instead, the number of people chasing increased. Gong Zimo managed to reach the first floor with much difficulty. Kill him. He holds a Dao tool. Countless shouts came from the second floor, startling the cultivators on the first floor to their senses. Greed appeared in their eyes as they looked at Xiao Chen, preparing to pounce over. A nameless flame immediately flared up in Xiao Chen's heart. The moment it flared up, it burned even more fiercely. The sixth floor, the fifth floor, the fourth floor, it was one thing for those people to chase after him. However, the weakest disciples of the sects on the first floor were like ants. Yet they dared to bully and humiliate him. This was intolerable. Xiao Chen roared ferociously and spread out his Dao energy. Then he slammed the tyrant saber on the ground. Clang! A boundless tyrannical aura spread out, controlling the profound weapons on the first floor to shoot out with Dao energy. The profound artifact saber that contained Dao energy wasn't something that the people on the first floor could block. In that instant, miserable cries rang out. The cultivators launching themselves at Xiao Chen were either injured or knocked into the air. They were either injured or sent flying one after another, falling to the ground. It was a tragic sight to behold. This was especially so when a group of people got knocked into the air. Under Xiao Chen's control, they happened to block the entrance to the second floor, buying him some precious time. Xiao Chen turned around and gently drifted out of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. After he landed, he did not even look back as he rushed forward. Boom! Just at this moment, the 1,000-odd beams of Dao Might light encasing the 10,000 weapon pavilion vanished, leaving only a scarlet beam of Dao Might light. The light coalesced into a majestic and tyrannical figure. When that figure roared, the entire fiendish demon battlefield trembled intensely. Then that figure laughed loudly, looking tragic and stirring. Amid the desolation, there was a mocking look of disdain for life and death. That lingering laughter rang in the ears of everyone in the entire fiendish demon battlefield. After the laughter faded, that figure seemed to feel incredibly delighted. It turned into boundless scarlet light and returned to the tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand. The sky instantly turned dark. Boundless darkness encased the fiendish demon battlefield. Only the scarlet light on Xiao Chen's body soared into the sky, looking exceptionally eye-catching. Damn it! Now, I can't leave even if I want to. Amid the scarlet light, Xiao Chen felt helpless as he held the trembling tyrant saber. Although he knew that this might be some kind of inheritance, this was not the right time. After a while, the scarlet light vanished. However, the tyrant saber in Xiao Chen's hand became even heavier. At the same time, Shangguan Lei, Wang Yueming, and the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan, who were hundreds of kilometers away from the 10,000 weapon pavilion, all felt this Dao Might. Chapter 1702. In a desolate area of the fiendish demon battlefield, black clouds shrouded the land, thunderclouds surged, the air was filled with miasma, not a single blade of grass grew on the ground, crushed stones stood in great numbers, and in the distance were undulating mountains. Occasionally, fiendish demons roared ferociously as they came from the mountains to a forbidden land of the fiendish demon battlefield. The environment was vile and demons were everywhere. Very few people walked out alive, and there were no fortuitous opportunities within. Other than demons, there were more demons. However, to some people, cruel and brutal demons were the best opportunity. At this moment, the plain of rubble was filled with rows and rows of demon corpses. There was no end to them. Many of them had even been eroded by the wind, leaving only their skeletons exposed. Amidst the strong winds, a tall and sturdy figure holding a saber dripping with blood was looking into the distance. A peak major primal core fiendish demon had just fallen before him. Wounds covered this fiendish demon's body, and it was not wearing any armor at all. Crackle! Lightning flickered around his body, giving off crisp sounds in the air. This person was none other than the purple flame sex Shangguan Lei, the strongest true inheritor of the Black Cave Mountain. Xiao Chen looked into the distance. In the extremely distant sky, the Dao Might was chaotic, stirring up winds and clouds. A tyrannical aura swept through the entire fiendish demon battlefield. Dao's soldiers appear. Shock flashed in Shangguan Lei's eyes. In the entire fiendish demon battlefield, no one had managed to take away a Dao tool in the past 1,000 years. A moment later, he grinned, making people feel that it was exceptionally scary. Master's teachings were indeed correct. Temper yourself in peace and constantly surpass yourself. Opportunities will always appear on their own. While he was in the fiendish demon battlefield, Xiao Chen had to improve every day. Otherwise, he would have to endure the pain of lightning corroding his heart. That kind of pain was enough to make one wish they were dead. After trying it once, they would never want to try it a second time. Hence, when Xiao Chen came to the fiendish demon battlefield, he did not seek out any fortuitous encounters, completely immersed in killing fiendish demons. He enjoyed the thrill of the hot-bloodedness brought by the battle between life and death. Unknowingly, Xiao Chen's strength had risen to peak major primal core realm, only one step away from the Cloud Sea realm. Shangguan Lei smiled coldly. He was determined to obtain this Dao tool that appeared. So. As Xiao Chen stepped on the corpses strewn all over the place, he moved 1 kilometer with each step, heading for the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Eventually his speed increased. With every step he took, a corpse would be crushed and dust would spread everywhere. In the 10,000 flower garden, he relied on his own strength and the folding fan left behind by his master. In this place, Wang Yueming swept through all directions, and no one could contend against him. The huge garden was almost completely occupied by him. All kinds of exotic flowers, rare herbs, natural treasures, almost everything that could be found was found by him. If there were some places that were truly too dangerous and impossible to enter, the harvest would be even more astonishing. When something strange happened in the 10,000 weapon pavilion, he sat cross-legged on the ground and slowly opened his eyes. A trace of doubt appeared on his handsome and refined face. Dao soldier? To think that there really was someone who obtained a Dao tool. That was originally Xiao Chen's next destination. Who knew that someone would get there first? Xiao Chen had already heard about the difficulty of obtaining a Dao tool from his predecessors. One could not obtain one just by having sufficient strength. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Originally, he wanted to sweep through the 10,000 flower garden and refine the exotic flowers, rare herbs, and natural treasures he obtained. When his strength improved again, he would be absolutely confident of subduing a Dao tool. Who knew, however, that's fine. It might be easier to obtain in your hands. Wang Yueming smiled faintly, revealing heavy confidence. Then he slowly opened the folding fan in his hand and soared into the air. Thousands of flowers looked very beautiful, competing with each other in beauty. As the fresh flowers danced, Xiao Chen moved through the hundreds of flowers. Not a single leaf touched him, looking indescribably elegant and free. Bang, bang, bang. The profound light temple Zhenyuan was publicly recognized as the strongest existence in the three blessed lands. Zhenyuan's choice was the same as the purple flame sect's Shangguan Lei's, tempering himself among the fiendish demons and not searching for fortuitous encounters. Zhenyuan bared his upper body. His bronze-colored muscles looked like they were painted gold as he fought an intense battle among the fiendish demons. When Zhenyuan attacked, he gave off a Buddhist light, appearing ferocious and tyrannical. The chest of the fiendish demon that Zhenyuan punched cracked like broken rocks, revealing an expression of extreme pain. Zhenyuan's fist technique was completely different from the Buddhist sect's martial techniques, a mixture of real and fake. His moves were bold, complementing his indestructible iron body that he had cultivated to an extremely high level. Zhenyuan, who was surrounded by the fiendish demons, appeared exceptionally relaxed. His expression was as calm as still water, not showing any joy or anger. Dao tool. When Zhenyuan sensed the mysterious phenomenon caused by the 10,000 weapon pavilion, he frowned slightly, revealing a grave expression. He was not very interested in the Dao tool. Instead, he was thinking about something else. A Dao tool did not appear for 1,000 years. Once it did, it would definitely be exceptionally precious. It would definitely cause a chain reaction, triggering a huge storm. Is there going to be a change in the fiendish demon battlefield? While Zhenyuan felt doubtful, the many fiendish demons surged with killing chi, taking advantage of this opportunity to charge over. Boom! Zhenyuan punched the ground, and a golden fist light shot out. Buddhist might erupted, and a huge swastika appeared on the ground. The fiendish demons charging at Zhenyuan got blasted away, their flesh and blood flying everywhere. However, under the illumination of the Buddhist light, they were purified on the spot. When the fiendish demons landed, only rows of peaceful corpses remained. After making up his mind, Zhenyuan leaped into the air and rushed in the direction of the 10,000 weapon pavilion. Whoosh! Suddenly, the dust on the ground sank. A huge Buddhist swastika appeared on the flat ground, looking like it had existed since ancient times. Xiao Chen, who had not gone far from the 10,000 weapon pavilion, did not know that he had startled the top geniuses of the three blessed lands. Even if he knew, he would not have time to care. At this moment, the scarlet Dao light that suddenly appeared above the 10,000 weapon pavilion entered the tyrant saber, making it exceptionally heavy. The tyrant saber's movement technique was significantly affected. The mysterious phenomenon startled the cultivators of the various sects near the 10,000 weapon pavilion. This was especially so in that moment earlier. The sky had turned dark, and only that scarlet Dao light encased the tyrant saber. Everyone knew that the Dao tool was in Xiao Chen's hands. As far as the eye could see, there were figures moving in all directions, all of them leaping towards his location. After all, this was the fiendish demon battlefield. The level of space was different. No one dared to fly continuously. Xiao Chen did not need to sense it to sense that there were no blind spots. No matter where he went, he would run into people. As long as he encountered some obstruction or delay, he would be surrounded. At that time, even if he was very capable, only death would await him. Furthermore, Xiao Chen's internal injuries were severe, and he was not even 10% of his peak strength. Earlier, he had charged out of the 10,000 weapon pavilion in an incredibly dangerous manner. Then he ran into such a situation. Xiao Chen wanted to cry, but no tears came out. That beam of light really did him in. Brat, you are really incredible. To think that you dared to play with yourself so ruthlessly and still not die. This is truly a miracle. Suddenly, a voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind, making the somewhat despairing Xiao Chen rejoice. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul. The mysterious dragon seal hidden in the 9-star primal core, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul sitting cross-legged, spoke at this crucial moment. Senior, when did you wake up? When you broke through to the primal core realm, I woke up automatically. Originally, I wanted to teach you some things. When I saw you fighting for the Dao tool, I did not startle you. Your performance is pretty good. If it is not what I love, what is the use of it? A man should have the air of a man. Senior overpraises me. Does Senior have a way to quickly recover from my body's injuries? Xiao Chen asked in anticipation. If he were not injured, no one would be able to stop him from leaving this fiendish demon battlefield if he wanted to. How did he end up in a situation where even a group of ants could surround and kill him? Ha! Do you think I'm a deity? Dozens of great Dao energies intertwined. You already have the blessing of the blue dragon bloodline by not dying. Yet you want to recover quickly? How naive. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's emotionless words immediately dashed Xiao Chen's dreams. I cannot help you recover from your injuries. However, I can help you absorb the great Dao energy in your body. However, you have to find a place to treat your injuries quickly. Don't overdo it. Otherwise, you will really end up crippled. After all, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor carried the hope of the blue dragon bloodline. He could not leave Xiao Chen to die. This was the greatest help he could offer. All right. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor could absorb all the great Dao energies that made Xiao Chen uncomfortable, preventing him from driving his veritable essence energy. At the very least, his injuries would not worsen, and he could recover 20 to 30% of his strength. With a tyrant saber in his hand, Xiao Chen would have some hope of escaping. Whoosh! The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul moved at lightning speed. A vast suction came from the dragon seal. The dozens of great Dao energies in Xiao Chen's body flew uncontrollably to the dragon roar hidden in his primal core. Ah! Xiao Chen could not help crying out in pain. It felt like dozens of sharp knives were moving around in his body. It was not something that ordinary people could endure. Xiao Chen let out a soft cry. Then he gritted his teeth and stopped screaming. He picked up the tyrant saber in a direction with fewer people and quickly ran over. All right, good luck to you from now on. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's weak voice came from the dragon roar. Xiao Chen immediately felt much more relaxed. At the very least, he could circulate his veritable essence energy slightly. His meridians were no longer blocked by the great Dao energy. However, the injuries to his meridians had not healed yet, so he did not dare to use his veritable essence energy rashly. If he used too much force, he might end up killing himself. Right now, his body simply could not withstand too much damage. Xiao Chen. It's really him. Is that a Dao tool? Just at this moment, 7 or 8 people appeared in front and coincidentally met with Xiao Chen. All of them showed pleasant surprise on their faces. There was 1 peak minor primal core cultivator, 4 middle stage minor primal core cultivators, and 3 early stage minor primal core cultivators. All of them were core disciples of rank 3 sections. With one glance, Xiao Chen figured out the other party's strength. He did not hesitate to make the first move. Kasu. The heavy tyrant saber struck the people who spoke and knocked them back, causing them to vomit blood. In one exchange, Xiao Chen tore an opening. While his companions were still stunned, he flew away. Damn! After him. Relying on the tyrant saber's sudden increase in weight and the horrifying Dao might, Xiao Chen dragged his injured body forward without stopping, charging forward. True inheritors? After clearing 5 stages, Xiao Chen's face sank. As he looked at the people blocking his way, he frowned. No matter which sect's true inheritors it was, they would not be able to obtain victory in a short time. As long as these true inheritors paused for a moment, they would be able to delay for a moment, and the large group of pursuers would immediately surround them. Don't. Who knew how many people had gathered behind him? However, the heavy footsteps and the trembling of the ground told Xiao Chen that danger had not left. Hand over the Dao tool, and I'll let you go. The person who arrived showed a cautious expression, not revealing any openings. He was also very careful when facing the injured Xiao Chen, not giving him any opportunities. That's impossible. The saber was the dignity of a bladesman. If one lost their dignity, what was the point of living? Xiao Chen showed a determined expression as he raised the tyrant saber and charged forward. If there was still a chance, he would not give up. You are seeking death. When that true inheritor saw that Xiao Chen still dared to charge over, he smiled coldly and prepared to kill Xiao Chen. Pussy. Suddenly, a white afterimage appeared behind that true inheritor. Caught off guard, a scarlet light appeared on that true inheritor's neck. In the next moment, blood spurted out and he fell over. When the white afterimage appeared, it was the young cat-eared girl that Xiao Chen had parted ways with. Now, she suddenly appeared again. Come with me. Right after the true inheritor spoke, the young cat-eared girl turned into a white cat and ran in front, leading the way. Chapter 1703. Xiao Chen hesitated for a moment before following them. At this time, the injuries on his body could not be effectively suppressed. If this dragged on, it would only get more and more hurtful. This kitten in front of him had to believe him for once even if she didn't want to. Following behind the cat-eared young lady, Zhang Xian moved swiftly, taking many turns here and there. Surprisingly, he managed to perfectly avoid the encirclement, not running into a single enemy. Many times he even brushed shoulders with the disciples of the various sects, but in the end he was never discovered. An hour later, the cat brought Xiao Chen to a valley where hundreds of flowers were blooming. They entered deep into the valley and stopped in front of a hot spring. The cat-eared girl reverted to her human form and looked at Xiao Chen. They probably won't be able to find this place for the time being. You should take a break. Xiao Chen was mentally fatigued. The tyrant saber became even heavier in his hand. Thank you for saving me, the cat-eared girl said calmly. In any case, you saved me once, so I have to repay you, right? This hot spring has a miraculous healing effect. Sometimes, when I go out and get injured, I will come here to soak in it. You should quickly heal your injuries. I have tried my best to help you to this point. They will find this place sooner or later. Xiao Chen understood that while the fiendish demon battlefield was large, it was also small. The disciples who came to the fiendish demon battlefield were not elites or outstanding talents. Xiao Chen could make a rough estimate based on his location and some other conditions. There were also quite a few people proficient in tracking. If they worked together, it would not be difficult for them to track down a person. If all of them came, the cat-eared girl alone wouldn't be able to stop them. Clearly, she wouldn't be able to help him to the end. Xiao Chen was already very grateful that he was able to help him by so much time. Naturally, he had no more complaints. When the young cat-eared girl saw Xiao Chen enter the hot spring, she revealed a startled expression in her eyes. Unexpectedly, he had kicked up such a huge storm in the fiendish demon battlefield right after leaving the temple. Dao soldier. In the past 1,000 years, no one had managed to obtain a Dao tool from the 10,000 weapon pavilion, much less a peak Dao tool. Ordinary Dao tools could not possibly cause such a huge mysterious phenomenon. In the past, Dao tools had been taken away. However, none of them had been like what Xiao Chen did, shaking up the entire fiendish demon battlefield. When that peerless tyrannical aura stirred up the winds and clouds in the surroundings, every cultivator felt their hearts tremble. Who wouldn't fear such a Dao soldier? Who wouldn't be tempted after learning that Xiao Chen was seriously injured? No one. The thousands of people who entered the fiendish demon battlefield were all tempted, including the core disciples of the rank 3 sections. The weakest existences all revealed their ambitions, wondering if they could be lucky enough to secretly obtain it. Once he obtained this saber, even if he could not use it himself, he could exchange it for the sect or trade it away. He would also be able to find a huge fortune for himself. In the past, all the cultivators who obtained a Dao tool had reached the Cloud Sea realm at the very least. 50% of the possessors of Dao tools successfully comprehended their own Dao, what more the superior grade Dao tool in Xiao Chen's hand. The fortuitous encounter and value it represented was self-evident, and it absolutely surpassed any of the previous encounters. Perhaps choosing him was the right choice. The young cat-eared girl muttered. Then she turned into a white cat and left again. Soon, someone would find this place again. She would not be of much help if she remained here. Being able to help Xiao Chen find a place to rest temporarily was already a great help. In the hot spring, as the hot water entered Xiao Chen's body, his entire body felt extremely comfortable. The wounds on his body warmed and healed at a visible pace. Brat, this hot spring is only somewhat effective on external injuries. It is not of much help to your internal injuries. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's mind again, telling him the bad news. Xiao Chen replied, I can feel it. These injuries will take at least half a month to recover completely. The wounds left by those great Dao energies will be hard to treat in a short time. When Xiao Chen checked the wounds left by the various Dao tools in his body, he felt horrified. The price he paid to obtain the Tyrant Saber was truly horrifying. In the past, Xiao Chen had always used great Dao energy to attack his opponents. This time he suffered. Furthermore, it was dozens of great Dao energies. The Dao marks were hard to remove, and they were everywhere in his internal organs and meridians. Even if his injuries healed, he could not circulate his veritable essence energy as he pleased. If he used too much force, his injuries would worsen, resulting in a permanent hidden injury. Not to mention 6 stars, he could not even light up a 9-star primal core. Xiao Chen even had to continue suppressing his strength. He could circulate only half of his veritable essence energy. I can remove the Dao marks in your body. However, I will need some time. Quickly recover from your internal injuries. Leave the Dao marks to me. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's voice sounded somewhat weak, but it was heavy and forceful. Xiao Chen did not dare to delay. In reality, this was not the time to relax. 2,000 or 3,000 sect disciples were searching for Xiao Chen outside. Many cultivators with special bloodlines and good tracking skills were slowly narrowing down the search area. The people searching for Xiao Chen outside the valley were split into 3 groups. One group was the sect disciples of the Black Cave Mountain, one group was the Heavenly Shaking Mountains Confucian scholars, and the last group was the Padala Mountains monks. The leader of the Black Cave Mountain's many true inheritors was the Divine Firmament sect's second strongest person, Berserk Saber Liang Zimo. Since Shangguan Lei was not around, he held the highest prestige. The leader of the Heavenly Shaking Mountains Confucian scholars was the Confucian institution's Meng Qi. For some reason, the Heavenly Shaking Mountains Bai Yu, who was second only to Wang Yueming, did not participate. The leader of the Padala Mountains Profound Light Temple's Zhenda was rumored to be Zhen Yuan's junior brother. The 2 of them were disciples of the Venerable Xian Bei. For hours later, the 3 groups gathered outside the valley at nearly the same time. All sorts of signs indicate that the trail of Xiao Chen's aura reached this valley and broke off. It is very likely that Xiao Chen is hiding here, the Berserk Saber Liang Zimo said softly as he looked at the valley. Frenzied Saber Liang Zimo said softly as he looked at the valley. His eyes were burning with passion. Liang Zimo had heard that the Dao tool that Xiao Chen obtained was also a saber. As a bladesman, he was even more interested in it than the others. The Confucian institution's Meng Qi hugged his sword as he looked at the valley. He said indifferently, It looks like we all came to the same conclusion. However, this valley is rather large, and mental energy cannot probe too far into the fiendish demon battlefield. If he intends to hide from us, it will not be easy to find him." A ruthless look flashed in Liang Zimo's eyes. He smiled coldly and said, "What's so difficult about that? Bring Hua Yunfeng out." Before the strange gazes of the other blessed land's true inheritors, the injured Hua Yunfeng was tied up and brought to the very front. Under the temptation of the Dao tool, the Black Cave Mountain's true inheritors, who were supposed to be allies, actually attacked their own people. This was truly shocking. However, when the Confucian institution's Meng Qi thought about it, he understood. Within the Black Cave Mountain, the Divine Firmament sect and the Purple Flame sect were both rank 4 sections. They had always firmly suppressed the Purple Flame sect. If the other party obtained the Dao tool, the Divine Firmament sect would be under the greatest pressure, followed by the other sects of the Black Cave Mountain and the other 2 blessed lands. Before the temptation of a Dao tool that could change the ranking of the various major factions, what did the Verbal Alliance count for? Actually, it was reasonable for the Divine Firmament sect to do such a despicable thing. The berserk saber Liang Zimo gathered his breath and shouted ferociously, "Shao Qin, I know that you are in there and can hear me. Your senior brother, Hua Yunfeng, is in my hands. I'll give you 10 seconds. If you do not come out, I will break one of his fingers until I chop off one of his arms." The thunder might of Liang Zimo's body rang out like thunder, echoing endlessly in the valley. Inside the hot spring, Shao Qin heard it immediately. His expression instantly changed drastically. Without thinking, he rushed out of the hot spring while holding his saber. "Brat, you have not gotten rid of even half of the Dao marks in your body. Don't be rash." The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's somewhat anxious voice rang out in Shao Chen's mind. The warm spring water washed away the blood and fatigue on Shao Chen's body. After 4 hours of recovery, his injuries had already healed significantly. The only problem was the Dao marks left in his body by the many great Dao energies. Ignoring the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's words, Shao Chen opened his heavenly eye and zoomed in. Then he saw Hua Yunfeng, who was pushed to the ground. Damn it! As Shao Chen held the tyrant saber, a murderous intent leaked out of his eyes. If not for buying time for himself, how could Hua Yunfeng, and the other 2 be in such a sorry state? Chapter 1704. Inside the valley, Shao Chen could not stop the murderous intent in his eyes. He found it hard to calm his heart or calm his anger. Possessing a Dao tool was the original sin of being hunted. Shao Chen could only accept it. However, he could not tolerate such underhanded methods. Before coming, Hua Yunfeng had formed an alliance with the Divine Firmament sect true inheritors. "Shao Chen, your time is up. Since you do not show yourself, don't blame me for being cruel." The Divine Firmament sect's berserk saber Liang Zimo showed a sullen expression. When he saw that there was no movement in the valley, he could not help feeling enraged. He raised his saber and prepared to chop off one of Hua Yunfeng's fingers. Hua Yunfeng's expression was unsightly, but he did not show any fear. He only thought that the ugliness of human nature was even more terrifying than he imagined. At the same time, he prayed in his heart that Shao Chen would not come out. If Shao Chen came out, he would definitely die. For Hua Yunfeng to become the top true inheritor of the Purple Flame sect, he was much calmer than ordinary people. This Liang Zimo looked enraged and ready to kill Shao Chen at any moment. However, even if Liang Zimo were 100 times more courageous, he would not dare to do so. No matter what, the Purple Flame sect was a rank 4 sect. Liang Zimo could not bear the consequences of killing their top true inheritor. At most, he would just cripple one of his arms. Liang Zimo's greater purpose was to infuriate Shao Chen and force him to show himself. This was an overt plot. Hua Yunfeng saw this more clearly than anyone else. He despised this underhanded method in his heart and hoped that Shao Chen could see through it. "Stop!" Holding up the tyrant saber, Shao Chen rushed out of the valley and looked coldly at Liang Zimo. When Xiaochun looked around, he immediately felt a heavy weight in his heart. The true inheritors of the heavenly shaking mountain and the Padala mountain were actually gathered together. When Xiaochun looked behind him, he saw many core disciples hiding everywhere, hoping to take advantage of the excitement. The appearance of the Tao tool attracted nearly all the disciples who came to the fiendish demon battlefield. At this moment, they all gathered outside this valley. Liang Zimo's face lit up with joy. He clapped his hands and said, "White-robed Xiaochun, you are indeed a man. I thought that you would hide in this valley forever." Xiaochun looked coldly at the other party. Then his gaze landed on the two Divine Firmament sect disciples pressing down on Hua Yunfeng. Killing chi surged out from his gaze. This immediately caused the two of them to tremble in fear. For some reason, they pulled Hua Yunfeng back 2 steps. "Release Hua Yunfeng. Whether you want the Tao tool or my life, everything is negotiable," Xiaochun said through clenched teeth, enunciating every word. Liang Zimo grinned. "Untie him." The two true inheritors immediately loosened the ropes binding Hua Yunfeng. Liang Zimo stepped forward and grabbed Hua Yunfeng, saying, "Hand over the Tao tool. I will give him to you." The Confucian institution's Meng Qi and the profound light temple Zhenda raised their eyebrows, and their expressions changed slightly. The two seemed to have a telepathic connection. They exchanged glances and sent voice projections. To think that this Liang Zimo is using us as decorations, wanting to take the Tao tool for himself. "Zhenda, what do you think?" Meng Qi sent a voice projection. Zhenda replied, "Both the Buddhist sects and the Confucian institution have very few people who use the saber. Let's work together. After we obtain this saber, we can auction it off at sea and give it to someone who truly uses the saber. After maximizing the benefits, we can split them evenly." "That's what I was thinking." The two hit it off and reached a simple agreement. Without much thought, Xiaochun tossed the tyrant saber in his hand at Liang Zimo. Clang. The instant the saber was tossed, the melodious sound of a treasure saber being unsheathed rang out in Xiaochun's heart, spreading throughout his entire body. It was like some sort of emotion had awakened in his body. Liang Zimo did not notice this at all. Wild joy appeared in his eyes as he caught the tyrant saber and kicked Hua Yunfeng away. Then, he retreated to the protection of the Divine Firmament sect true inheritors. How heavy! However, the moment Liang Zimo caught the tyrant saber, he felt like he had caught a mountain with his bare hands. He could not react at all. After catching the tyrant saber pulled him to the ground with a plop, and he fell flat on his face. Clang. A cold light flashed in the eyes of the Confucian institution's Meng Qi. He drew his sword, and a sword light shone like the red sun. Righteous Qi surged out as he thrust it at Liang Zimo. The profound light temple Zhenda leaped into the air and swung the Buddhist staff in his hand, grasping the end. The mountain-like staff head tore through the air, giving off a terrifying howl as it smashed at Liang Zimo. Damn it! Liang Zimo brought out his will of thunder, and his entire body flickered with electric light. He cursed in his heart and used all his vital qi and veritable essence energy. Finally, he managed to stand up while holding the tyrant saber. Liang Zimo smiled coldly and grasped the saber hilt with his right hand, ready to draw it. However, when Liang Zimo pulled, he discovered that he could not draw it at all. His expression changed drastically. Pusi. Without giving Liang Zimo any time to react, Meng Qi's sword pierced through his chest. The Buddhist staff in Zhenda's hand ruthlessly smashed Liang Zimo into the air. Before the tyrant saber could warm up, a shock wave shot out in a direction that Zhenda and Meng Qi did not expect. After him, the entire place immediately turned chaotic. Everyone focused their gazes on the tyrant saber as they flew towards it. "Saber! My Tao tool!" Liang Zimo lay on the ground. His hair was disheveled, and wounds covered his entire body. He appeared dispirited and dispirited. Blood leaked out of his mouth as he coughed continuously. The planned attacks of two peak true inheritors were not that easy to deal with. They immediately inflicted severe injuries on Liang Zimo. This was especially so for Zhenda's mountain-like Buddhist staff. The vast strike landed on Liang Zimo's body. All the ribs in Liang Zimo's body shattered, and his internal organs shattered. This made the wound from Meng Qi's sword even more slippery. At this moment, Liang Zimo did not even have the strength to stand up. The most helpless thing was that no one cared about him. Everyone was chasing after the tyrant saber, rushing over in a frenzy. Seeing the chaotic scene, Xiao Chen led Hua Yunfeng back to the valley entrance and removed the restriction on Hua Yunfeng's body. Whoosh! Hua Yunfeng heaved a long sigh. Then he sighed, "I should not have shown myself. It is truly not easy for a bladesman to meet a treasured saber that suits me." This was especially so after Hua Yunfeng personally saw how much effort and price Xiao Chen paid for this saber. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. "That saber has only one word, tyrant. However, I tried 3 times and failed to draw it. Instead, when I tossed it out earlier, it came out of its scabbard." Hua Yunfeng showed a strange expression. "It came out of its scabbard? I didn't see it?" Xiao Chen pointed to his chest. "It was here. Just earlier, I understood why I could not draw this saber. In the 10,000 weapon pavilion, I held the saber and left, abandoning senior brother Hua to flee alone. After that, I lost the feeling of being a tyrant. Even though I forcefully subdued this saber, it felt ashamed and was not willing to be used by me. The true way of the tyrant is not to show off and fight viciously, to dominate the world. Instead, it needs to have a pure heart, to value relationships and righteousness. It needs to have the pride and courage of a tyrant, and even more, the feelings and boldness of a king. Only then can it be called the way of the tyrant." Hua Yunfeng entered deep thought. Then he nodded and said, "What you said is not what I like. What is the use of it? It is the same for sabers and swords. In the past, I often read in ancient texts that some famous sabers and swords directly shattered after changing owners. In the past, I thought that was just a story. Now, it looks like the rumors are true." Between this gain and loss, Xiao Chen gained a lot. In the 10,000 weapon pavilion, it looked like he obtained a Dao tool. However, in reality, he did not manage to subdue the tyrant saber. Holding it in his hand, aside from attracting boundless disaster, he did not gain anything. Now, while it looked like he lost the tyrant saber, he gained the tyrant saber's acknowledgement. Xiao Chen had already unsheathed it in his heart. Regardless of where it was, this saber already had Xiao Chen's mark on it. Suddenly, a pained grunt entered Xiao Chen's ears. When he looked over, his lips curled up in a mocking smile. Hua Yunfeng followed Xiao Chen's gaze and could not help smiling. Heaven is watching what people do. This Liang Zimo sneak attacked and injured me while I was fighting with the 6 experts. Now that he ended up like this, I can only say that he deserves it. Brother Xiao, what do you plan to do next? Xiao Chen's eyes were clear. He already had a plan in his heart. I'll let this situation be a little more chaotic, luring out those ambitious people. I'll treat my injuries properly and recover to my peak combat prowess. Be it Shengguan Lei, Wang Yueming, the profound light temple's Zhenda, or the Black Lotus Church's holy sun hiding in the dark, they were all tigers and wolves and could not be underestimated. Using this tyrant saber to draw out all these threats was simply the best. After all, aside from Xiao Chen, no one in this vast fiendish demon battlefield could draw out the tyrant saber. What was mine would still be mine in the end. Chapter 1705. The appearance of the tyrant saber incited many people to fight over it, giving Xiao Chen an excellent opportunity to rest. He did not need to worry about anything else. He could focus on treating his injuries to prevent any hidden injuries that he could not get rid of in the future. Back then, Xiao Chen's experience in the Kunlun realm was still fresh in his mind. Now that he was in the Great Thousand Realms, he had to be careful not to make the same mistakes as before. Martial Uncle. Senior Brother Hua. As the two chatted, the core disciples and true inheritors of the Purple Flame sect all rushed over. The originally anxious group of people relaxed significantly when they discovered that the two were fine. This group of people from the Divine Firmament sect is really too much. We have to take revenge for this. To think that they took advantage of Senior Brother Hua while he was down. After learning about Hua Yunfeng's experiences, the many true inheritors all felt aggrieved, rage burning in their hearts. Back then, at the Divine Firmament sect's thunder-controlling peak, they had agreed to form an alliance to fight the heavenly shaking mountain and the Padala mountain. To think that they used such despicable means for the sake of a Tao tool. This was simply despicable, despicable. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Of course, we have to take revenge. However, now is not the time. Now is actually the best time to search for fortuitous encounters. The disciples of the other sects are all going to fight for the Tao tool. This is an opportunity for us. Ling Yu asked, feeling confused, "Martial uncle, why are you not anxious at all? Right now, the most important thing is to help you snatch the Tao tool back." A peak Tao tool was the greatest fortuitous encounter. All the disciples of the sect would benefit from it. There was no greater fortuitous encounter in the fiendish demon battlefield. Otherwise, the other sect disciples would not be like this. Every single one of them seemed to have gone mad, fighting to the death, and fighting to the death. Even those who were not in the mood to fight ran over to join in the excitement, trying to fish in troubled waters. Hua Yunfeng smiled mysteriously. "There is no need for you to worry about this. Xiao Chen has his ways. After I recover my strength, I will bring everyone to sweep through the various lands of fortuitous encounters. No matter how the others fought, they could not draw the scabbard." This tyrant saber had already recognized Xiao Chen as its master, and it already bore his mark. Sooner or later, it would return to Xiao Chen's hands. There was no need to worry. Many disciples were skeptical, but they were satisfied with this arrangement. With Hua Yunfeng leading the way to seek fortuitous encounters, there would definitely be a great harvest at this juncture. 1 hour later, with the aid of the medicinal pills, Hua Yunfeng's injuries healed rapidly. He led the Purple Flame sect's true inheritors and core disciples to bid farewell to Xiao Chen and leave the valley. Although his injuries were terrible, his cultivation was not as terrible as Xiao Chen's. With the help of the elixir, he recovered very quickly. With the help of the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor, Xiao Chen continued to clear the Tao wounds left by the Tao tool in his body. His heart remained as still water, calm and unperturbed. On the other side, the fight for the Tao soldiers had completely descended into chaos and white-hot. Meng Qi and Zhenda had wanted to join forces to suppress them, but they were not strong enough. Even though the two of them had joined hands, they were still unable to dominate the scene. In the end, the two of them actually began to fight. Each of them had their own selfish motives. How could a verbal alliance last long? Damn, what a heavy saber. I can't pull it out at all. I managed to snatch it. It's mine now. Amid the chaotic crowd, the tyrant saber kept changing hands. However, no one could successfully pull it out. Instead, they ended up bringing trouble for themselves, getting surrounded and attacked. Just when it looked like there would never be a winner, a clap of thunder suddenly roared in the sky. A tyrannical, heart-stopping aura came from the distance, accompanied by the claps of thunder. Dark clouds churned in the sky, and thunder rumbled endlessly. "Where are the Divine Firmament sect disciples?" A loud shout rang out. The Divine Firmament sect's Shangguan Lei finally rushed over from the Forbidden Land. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky. As Shangguan Lei bathed in the lightning, he looked like an aloof war god, looking down coldly at the various sect disciples below. "It's Shangguan Lei." Shangguan Lei appeared. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. The moment Shangguan Lei spoke, startled cries rang out in the chaotic crowd. The Divine Firmament sect disciples responded to Shangguan Lei's question with excitement on their faces. "Senior brother Shangguan, you finally came out. This tyrant saber will definitely belong to my Divine Firmament sect." The moment Shangguan Lei landed, the Divine Firmament sect disciples crowded around him, boosting his aura. "Senior brother." The many disciples respectfully greeted Shangguan Lei. When they felt the peak major primal core aura from him, the people around them all felt immense pressure. Shangguan Lei swept his gaze around, and a formless pressure spread out, forcefully silencing the 2,000-odd sect disciples present. No one dared to meet Shangguan Lei's gaze. Even the profound light temple's Zhenda and the Confucian institution's Meng Qi, who fought the fiercest earlier, avoided each other's gazes. They did not dare to clash with Shangguan Lei, feeling shocked in their hearts. How terrifying! To think that he is already a peak major primal core cultivator. Just this cultivation alone is sufficient to stand out from the crowd. How exactly did he cultivate? After reaching the major primal core realm, one's cultivation would progress extremely slowly, reaching peak major primal core. In the entire Grave Sea cluster, one would be considered an expert. After all, the sect masters of some rank 3 sects in the outside world were only at this level. However, Shangguan Lei's potential was clearly not limited to this. Furthermore, he was still so young. He would definitely reach the Cloud Sea realm in his lifetime, becoming a star venerate or even higher. Zhenda thought to himself, right now, the Shangguan Lei's aura actually looks even scarier than senior brother Zhen Yuan's. What exactly did Shangguan Lei experience in the past few days for his improvement to be so terrifying? Meng Qi felt the same way. When he compared Shangguan Lei to Wang Yueming, he felt that the originally evenly matched situation was about to be broken. Shangguan Lei was very satisfied with the reactions of the crowd. His gaze never left a disciple holding the tyrant saber. That was the top true inheritor of a rank 3 sect in the Black Cave Mountain. Under Shangguan Lei's gaze, he felt immense pressure. Sweat continuously leaked out of his forehead. Shangguan Lei recognized this person. He looked straight at the other party's bright eyes and suddenly shouted, "Ma Henliang, are you seeking death? Why are you still not handing over the Dao tool?" Shangguan Lei's voice was like a clap of thunder, shaking people's hearts and entering Ma Tianliang's soul. It felt like a bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in Ma Tianliang's sea of consciousness. This startled Ma Tianliang into trembling, and the tyrant saber in his hand flew out uncontrollably. The crowd scattered. No one dared to get close to the Dao tool lest Shangguan Lei target them. Everyone scattered, leaving behind a large, empty space where the Dao tool was. Now, no one showed any interest in the item that everyone fought for earlier. They could only watch in dissatisfaction. So, it is a tyrant saber. With your appearance, you think you are fit to wield this saber? When Shangguan Lei saw the ancient words on the scabbard, he revealed a mocking expression, making Ma Tianliang feel ashamed. Only I, Shangguan Lei, am fit to wield this saber. The word, tyrant, was deeply engraved in Shangguan Lei's heart. He showed a stern expression, exuding strong self-confidence and a tyrannical aura of thunder. No one dared to block Shangguan Lei, automatically opening a path for him. That might not be the case. Suddenly, a cool voice rang out. Wang Yueming landed, holding a folding fan. He had finally rushed over from the 10,000 flower garden. It's Senior Brother Wang. Senior Brother Wang is finally here. The people of the Confucian institution immediately became excited. The others also showed joy on their faces. Finally, someone who could suppress Shangguan Lei's limelight appeared. Wang Yueming, you dare to compete with me? Shangguan Lei shouted coldly as he looked at the descending Wang Yueming with a murderous intent in his eyes. Wang Yueming opened his folding fan and smiled faintly. Others might fear you, Shangguan Lei, but why would I, Wang Yueming, fear you? Shangguan Lei's eyes flashed. He suddenly discovered that this Wang Yueming had already reached peak major primal core realm. Wang Yueming's aura was no longer as overbearing as before. He said, "This saber is perfectly compatible with my Dao. It was born for me. Wang Yueming, what is the point of you going?" Wang Yueming said indifferently, "There is no need for you to worry about that. I have my own reasons for making a move." Interesting. Do you really think that you can compete with me just by relying on some natural treasures to advance to peak major primal core realm? Receive my saber strike. A saber appeared in Shangguan Lei's hand as he leaped into the air, sending out a saber light. The saber light flashed, turning the sky as resplendent as the sun, disappearing in a flash. Purple chi comes from the east. Wang Yueming closed the folding fan in his hand, and the righteous chi in his body turned into the rising sun, sending down strands of pure purple chi. He used his veritable essence energy and righteous chi to clash head-on with this saber strike. Kasu. A crack appeared in the folding fan, and Wang Yueming took 3 steps back. He felt his arm go numb, and his expression could not help changing drastically. How can this be? My cultivation is the same as his. Why is there such a huge difference in strength? Shengguan Lei smiled coldly. His cultivation came from mountains of corpses and seas of blood of fiendish demons. Wang Yueming relied on external items to advance. How could he compare to Shengguan Lei? An ancient loyal heart like the sun and the moon, a body of righteous chi traces the spring and autumn. After putting himself at a disadvantage with one move, Wang Yueming quickly took out the 2 lines of the poem his master left in the folding fan. The crack in the folding fan mended, and a vast righteous chi poured out. Wang Yueming's cultivation soared again, bursting out with an aura that rivaled that of a star venerate. Xiao Chen exchanged another move with Shengguan Lei, forcing back the other party, who was closing in on him. Shengguan Lei somersaulted in the air and landed, causing the ground to tremble. He looked at Wang Yueming and said, "No wonder you are confident to compete with me. However, let's see how long this broken fan of yours can help you." Shengguan Lei did not fear Wang Yueming, whose aura soared to that of a star venerate. Bush, bush, bush. Just as the two faced off, a figure suddenly appeared, standing on a lotus flower. His figure was like a phantom, and he grasped the tyrant saber before Shengguan Lei and Wang Yueming. Tyrant saber. This was the strongest person of the 3 blessed lands, the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan. As he held the tyrant saber, he showed a grave expression. This saber is an inauspicious item. Although every master ruled the world, they all died under their own saber. Aside from the tyrant saber, it has another name, the saber of misfortune. This saber needs to be handed to the Buddhist sect for safekeeping. Zhen Yuan held the tyrant saber as he looked at Wang Yueming and Shengguan Lei. Shengguan Lei mocked. "Do you think that I will believe your words? Stinky monk, cut the crap and hand over the saber." In the clouds, a vertical eye quietly flew away. In the valley, Xiao Chen opened his forehead and sent the heavenly eye back into his forehead. Then he revealed a doubtful expression. Tyrant saber? Saber of misfortune? Chapter 1706. The Saber of Misfortune? Xiao Chen stood up and muttered to himself, feeling confused. Then he asked the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's remnant soul, "Is there really such a saying? Do you believe it?" Although the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's voice in the dragon seal was weak, it still contained some disdain. Xiao Chen made up his mind. In that case, this monk is here to deceive me? Naturally. I have interacted with this group of bald donkeys too much. They are always talking nonsense, acting like they are the only sober person in the world. It is just a different path. There is no need for too much explanation. However, every master of that saber did end up committing suicide. Xiao Chen immediately felt speechless. After all that talk, it turned out that Zhen Yuan was telling the truth. That is indeed the case. However, that monk said something about handing it to the Buddhist sect for safekeeping was clearly selfish. Can't you tell? Furthermore, why did all the masters of the tyrant saber end up committing suicide? That is just arrogance and conceit. Their understanding of the path of an overlord is wrong. The path of an overlord is never about ruling the world alone. If one stubbornly insists on doing things their own way, wanting to trample on the entire world, not leaving others a path to survival, how could the heavens leave you a path to survival? Even if these people did not obtain the tyrant saber, they would still end up in a miserable state. Xiao Chen understood. So, it is not the saber that has a problem. It is the person wielding the saber that has a problem, magnifying the flaws in their hearts. That's right. For example, that person here is called Shengguan Lei, right? I don't know which master taught him. With such a temper and character, even without the tyrant saber, he is destined to end up in a miserable state, taking the wrong path. If he happens to obtain the tyrant saber, he will definitely end up in the same state, committing suicide. Then, as the rumors spread, the reputation of the saber of misfortune will continue to spread. Do you think you can blame it on the saber? After the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's explanation, Xiao Chen's doubts cleared up. It was as he expected. Xiao Chen had already recovered from his injuries. The 3 experts of the Blessed Lands had all appeared. However, there was still one person who had yet to say anything. The Black Lotus Church Holy Son was still hiding somewhere, waiting for Xiao Chen to show himself. It looked like this fellow was even more cautious than Xiao Chen thought. To think that a Dao tool did not tempt him. Forget it, even if he doesn't appear, I'll have to show myself. If the Black Lotus Saint still thought that his strength was limited to the Buddha-seeking platform, then Xiao Chen would teach him a harsh lesson. Set off, snatch the saber. Moving like the wind, Xiao Chen executed the steps of the new fish dragon art, advancing quickly in this fiendish demon battlefield, where the spiritual energy was vast and the pressure was immense. On the other side, Shengguan Lei and Wang Yueming did not believe what the profound light temple's Zhen Yuan said. Xiao Chen believed that Xiao Chen had selfish motives and just wanted to bring the Dao tool to the profound light temple. As Zhen Yuan looked at Shengguan Lei and Wang Yueming, he entered deep thought. If these two worked together, he might not be a match for them. However, it did not matter if this tyrant saber was the saber of misfortune or not. In a very short time, Shengguan Lei and Wang Yueming's strength would increase tremendously. This was not a good thing for the profound light temple, which was in competition with them. The Buddhist sects also needed incense and fame, as well as their own faction. It wasn't that he was far away from the mortal world and untainted by dust. Zhen Yuan also had a direct competitive relationship with these two. Be it public or private, he could not let the other party obtain this saber. However, it would not be easy to resolve this matter peacefully. Zhen Yuan thought for a while before saying, I have a suggestion. I wonder if the two of you are willing to hear it? A cold light flashed in Shengguan Lei's eyes as he said, Speak. Wang Yueming nodded, willing to hear it. Brother Shengguan, if I give you the saber, are you sure you can block Brother Wang and I working together? Zhen Yuan asked as he looked at Shengguan Lei. Shengguan Lei remained silent for a while. He felt unconvinced in his heart, but he still answered honestly, I can't block it. Then, Zhen Yuan looked at Wang Yueming. Wang Yueming shook his head and said, Same. Alright, if that's the case. Since that is the case, then the 3 of us will make a gentleman's agreement. Whoever of the 2 of you can block a palm strike from me will get this saber. If you cannot block it, then it will belong to me, and the profound light temple will hold on to it. Shengguan Lei smiled coldly and said, However, what if the 2 of us block it? Zhen Yuan smiled and said, In that case, I will withdraw from the fight for the Dao tool and lead the disciples of the Padala mountain far away from this conflict. It is settled. The 3 of us will swear an oath on the will of the dead sovereign emperor. Whoever breaks the oath will die a violent death. Wang Yueming did not even think about it before directly agreeing. No matter what, Wang Yueming felt that receiving a palm strike from Zhen Yuan would be no problem. Shengguan Lei did not hesitate either. If he could not even receive a palm strike from Zhen Yuan, then he really did not need to live anymore. Zhen Yuan revealed a faint smile. After the 3 agreed, they prepared to swear an oath. The others present all revealed startled expressions, wondering if Zhen Yuan had gone crazy and underestimated Shengguan Lei and Wang Yueming. The atmosphere immediately turned tense. The fight for the Dao tool, which had lasted for a long time, was finally coming to an end. Everyone knew who the Dao tool would go to in the end. Was the monk Zhen Yuan just boasting again? However, just at this moment, something strange happened. The tyrant saber in Zhen Yuan's hand suddenly trembled uncontrollably, trying to struggle free. A vast tyrannical aura swept out from the saber scabbard. Strong winds blew in the surroundings, kicking up boundless dust. It was like there was something extremely attractive to the tyrant saber, making it struggle for all it was worth. Even Zhen Yuan could not control it. Come back! A shout rang out. The tyrant saber flew out with a whoosh, heading for the owner of the voice. The expressions of Zhen Yuan and the other 2, who had finished discussing and were preparing to snatch the tyrant saber, changed drastically. They did not know what happened. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The three soared into the air and chased after the tyrant saber. However, halfway through the chase, they suddenly discovered a white figure standing on a small hill in front. This person stretched out his hand and firmly grasped the tyrant's saber. Xiao Chen. As Xiao Chen looked at the three people who had been chasing him, he admired the interesting expressions on their faces. Xiao Chen could not help smiling. I say, the three of you are trying to decide who this saber belongs to in public. Have you asked the original owner? Shangguan Lei's face sank. I was wondering who snatched this saber. So, it is you. I was just wondering where to look for you. Now, you deliver yourself to me. Before Shangguan Lei finished speaking, a saber appeared in his hand. Then he used instant flash to charge at Xiao Chen. Wang Yueming entered deep thought. He gently closed the folding fan in his hand, not attacking rashly. On the other hand, Zhen Yuan's expression was the most interesting. His plan looked like it would succeed. Unexpectedly, it failed in the next moment. Anyone would feel upset and depressed at such a feeling. Fortunately, Zhen Yuan came from the Buddhist sect and possessed a stronger mental state than ordinary people, so he quickly calmed down. Seeing Shangguan Lei charge over, Xiao Chen's face sank. Without even thinking, he placed his hand on the saber hilt. In the next moment, he drew the saber. When the saber was drawn by 1 centimeter, a bright saber light tore through the sky like a bolt of lightning. Boom! Thunder roared in the sky. 2 different Great Tao rings immediately appeared behind Xiao Chen. One was the Thunder Great Tao, and the other was Xiao Chen's Saber Great Tao. The two intertwined and merged. When the Saber Tao and the Thunder Tao worked together with Xiao Chen's Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, it was simply a perfect fusion. Shangguan Lei's expression turned grave. He no longer dared to hold back. He roared, "Purple Thunder 7 strikes." As Shangguan Lei's saber descended from the air, he hacked down 7 times in a row. Every time he did so, he would attract a bolt of thunder that shook the heavens. The thunder rumbled, causing the ground to tremble. Rumble! After the 3 saber strikes, the world felt like only majestic thunder remained. The sky changed color, and thunderclouds churned. The air turned dry. As the saber in Shangguan Lei's hand absorbed more and more lightning, it turned bright and piercing, looking like the blazing sun. Every saber strike drove boundless lightning-attributed energy. Every saber strike was Shangguan Lei's peak strike. However, every time he attacked, it would surpass the previous peak. When Shangguan Lei's saber descended, 7 peak-level lightning strikes layered over each other. The saber strike landed. When Shangguan Lei's saber landed, a thick bolt of lightning descended from the sky and attached itself to the saber. Before this terrifying saber strike landed, it pressed down on the slope under Xiao Chen's feet, causing it to sink in, resolving the mundane. After drawing the tyrant saber, Xiao Chen did not hold back either. The other party's Purple Thunder 7 strikes could threaten a star venerate level existence. If Xiao Chen got careless, even with the tyrant saber, he would still be the one defeated. A swastika appeared on Xiao Chen's forehead. At this instant, his expression no longer showed any humanity. Surpassing the mundane, the 7 emotions and 6 desires no longer existed. Resolving the mundane, achieving eternity. The tyrant saber showed neither joy nor sorrow. It was like an iron-faced Buddha that saw through the fickleness of the world as it swung down. A tall Kasyapa Buddha image appeared behind Xiao Chen. As he swung his saber, he drew his Buddhist monk's saber and mercilessly swung it. It was clearly a Buddha, but it did not contain any gentle or warm Buddhist intent. This was different from any Buddhist sect martial technique. This was the Mahamaya abstinence violation saber technique. Shangguan Lei, who was fighting with Xiao Chen, felt a sense of guilt in his heart for committing a great sin. Even the benevolent Buddha was heartless to him, killing him. He could not help feeling horrified, and a weak opening appeared in his mental state. When the 2 sabers clashed, this weak opening widened with the clash of the 2 powerful martial techniques. Kasi! A melodious clang rang out, and the treasure tool in Shangguan Lei's hand broke. Blood leaked out of a corner of Shangguan Lei's mouth. The instant his saber broke, his aura plummeted. Then Xiao Chen's two-layer Dao might knocked him back. As Shangguan Lei stood firmly on the ground and looked at the broken saber in his hand, his expression turned extremely unsightly. There was even a terrifying saber wound on his chest. This saber strike had chopped through the bones and flesh of his chest in one breath, nearly chopping him in half. However, no blood spurted out. This was because the saber intent was too tyrannical. It remained in the gap, blocking the recovery of the wound and preventing blood from spurting out. Plop! Shangguan Lei cried out silently in pain. Then he fell to the ground and fainted. As for Xiao Chen, his arm was already numb, and his palm had cracked. The bones in his right hand, which held the saber, cracked in the instant they clashed. If he had lasted any longer, his entire arm would have been crippled. Clang! Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and said with a cold expression, "This is my, Xiao Chen's, saber. Aside from me, no one else has the right to decide its fate. Not even you, Zhen Yuan." Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on Zhen Yuan. Zhen Yuan was raring to go. Clearly, he wanted to take this opportunity to attack. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.